All right, cool. What's good, bro? What up, y'all? So, we finna stream the the Clarity Act for digital assets. So, if you want to see it, y'all have to go to YouTube. Other than that, you just gonna be listening from TikTok.
How do I flip the camera?
Use your phone. Just flip your
Oh, just like how?
Oh wait, you on your
No,
computer?
on the device. Yeah, how do I do that?
Damn, we didn't think this through all the way. Um, so this is a dilemma right now. The dilemma right now is the financial services GOP is streaming from YouTube. Y'all know we can't hear YouTube. So
Hold up.
go on, use your phone for restream. Use your phone for restream, and then flip your camera on your phone to your computer, and then you show YouTube. Instead of using restream on, you using restream on your laptop or your phone.
I'm on my phone.
Okay, then yeah, put the
Yeah.
is it a way to flip your camera on here? I'm on my computer, so I have no clue if
I
they have.
have you send me the link too on Telegram.
Okay, hold on.
But I'm not gonna have no clue to how it looks. You got to like let me know if it look right.
Okay.
All right. Hmm.
Yeah, so normally they do like the hearings on like the actual website, and then it's like from C-SPAN or something. This time they literally only streaming this from YouTube, so we don't have. The problem is we're on YouTube, so you can't hear it.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Oh, you're on TikTok too, right?
yeah, I'm on TikTok so they can hear it.
Okay.
So y'all might want to come to YouTube if y'all want to see the screen and stuff. Just was
All right.
coming on here to let y'all know we on YouTube. Block Nation YouTube. Block Nation. What's up, y'all?
All right. Turn- All right. You see my screen?
Yeah, let me just turn this one down. Hold on. Yeah, I see your screen.
All right. Turn it up. Committee Chairman G.T. Thompson and members from across the House of
Make the screen big.
Representatives that have an interest in providing much needed regulatory clarity for market participants and innovation. Our bill establishes a clear, codified exemption pathway for digital commodity projects to raise capital, support secondary market trading of these assets, enables SEC registered entities to participate in digital commodity markets, and much more.
Go in like a little
Ultimately, this
closer.
is about protecting American consumers, encouraging innovation at home, and ensuring that the U.S. leads in the future of digital assets. We started this Congress with a joint press conference with Senate chairs Tim Scott in banking, John Bozeman in agriculture, alongside my partner here in the House, Chairman G.T. Thompson of the House Ag Committee. We committed to provide functional rules of the road for the digital asset ecosystem. The discussion here today is a critical part of that journey, and I look forward to an informed conversation on how digital asset market structure legislation can deliver meaningful protection and benefits for our constituents and for the innovation technology across our economy. With that, I yield back. The chair recognizes the ranking member of the full committee, Mrs. Waters, for 4 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you very much,
Your
Mr.
girl.
I too would like to have productive.
Your finger in the way, D.
But it's
D, your
very
finger in the way.
difficult based on what the President of the United States is doing. As Americans grow poor under Donald Trump's failed policies, Trump and his family grow richer $2.9 billion richer. That's how much his net worth has jumped as a result of his crypto schemes. And that's only a conservative estimate. And now Trump doesn't want Americans to use his Trump doesn't just want Americans to use his crypto. He wants to put our money in his digital wallet while he guts our financial regulators, the watchdogs that protect families from financial fraud. To borrow words from Elon Musk, Trump's crypto con is a disgusting abomination. So as Trump cashes in, America's families are bearing the cost. They're cutting back on groceries, putting off starting a family, and abandoning the
You trying to blame crypto for people being broke?
towns.
She don't shut her dumb ass up.
Enough. Just 2 weeks ago, Republicans passed a massive tax cut for billionaires while slashing Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, and student loan assistance. Trump is not just scamming everyday Americans with his crypto con. He's even grifting his own supporters. 200 people collectively spent $148 million to attend his shady meme coin dinner with the promise of an exclusive experience. What did they get? Walmart steak, Costco freezer, halibut, recycled talking points, and just 20 minutes of Trump time. I guess you get what you pay for. Congress can't normalize this scam any longer. From his fraudulent meme coin to his deals in Abu Dhabi, Donald Trump is using the White House for personal profit by selling influence to the highest bidder. And Republicans are ignoring these dangers, even as the crypto industry raises concerns. That's why I had to introduce Stop Trump and Crypto Act of 2025 to prevent the president, vice president, members of Congress, and their immediate families from engaging in crypto corruption and blatant conflicts of interest. Sadly, legitimizing Trump's crypto con is far from the only terrible thing about this confusing and reckless legislation. In fact, this bill should actually be called the Complexity Act. This rushed, overly complicated bill will increase investor harm, which already runs rampant in today's crypto market. Some of the riskiest activities are broadly exempted from the bill, leaving our constituents with no one to turn to when their money vanishes. The bill puts our national security at risk and contains no penalties for crypto criminals. The bill doesn't
I fucking hate this bitch.
clarity the industry has long sought. Instead, the bill creates vague, new definitions that will result in continued litigation in which the largest players, including big banks,
Y'all tell y'all mamas and grandmas to stop voting for this wicked witch.
the only thing clear about
Please.
this bill is
Fuck.
we need
Why
to
do y'all
stop.
keep voting for this lady,
Also
bro?
troubling
Cause
that
she
the
black?
Secretary of
Stop
State
doing that shit.
has
That
ignored
bitch dumb as hell.
refused to share their full technical analysis of the bill with Democrats, even as Republicans rush to pass this bill before the SEC chair is even invited to testify.
Why is her shit so long? Don't they get a timer or something? Ain't her time up?
But make no mistake,
She's reclaiming her time. She told you. Chair recognizes the chair of the Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Artificial Intelligence Subcommittee, Mr. Style, Wisconsin, for 1 minute for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Chairman Hill. Thank you for your leadership in introducing the Clarity Act, and thank you for your leadership in bringing us together in a nonpartisan way. Members on both sides of the aisle who've already come to co-sponsor the Clarity Act. The golden age of digital assets is here.
All I hear is her
Today's
bitches
is
clacking when she
closer
talk.
to ensuring that America wins the Web3 race. The Clarity Act will unleash
Tell her
innovation,
bitches.
secure U.S. dominance in digital assets while protecting consumers from fraud. At the same time, we must preserve the dynamic and democratic and democratizing nature of this technology. Many of the most transformative projects were born in basements, and dorm rooms, not in law firms and boardrooms. They were born in incubators across the country. And we have an opportunity to make sure that that spirit of creativity and entrepreneurship continues to thrive under a regulatory framework that is modern, supportive of innovation, and clear. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your leadership and look forward to the hearing.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the ranking member of the Digital Assets, Financial Technology, Artificial Intelligence Subcommittee, Mr. Lynch, for 1 minute for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the ranking member and to our witnesses for your willingness to help the committee with its work. Our Republican colleagues, it appears, are eager to continue doing the bidding of the crypto industry while conveniently ignoring President Trump's blatant corruption. The so-called Clarity Act seems to be the latest agreement among largest crypto companies on how they would like to be ineffectually regulated. President Trump's exploitation of the presidency, along with the volatile and risky nature of cryptocurrency products, will have a devastating consequence on Americans' financial lives. Congress cannot allow it to continue. The president's infamous meme coin dinner held at his luxury resort, for which attendees paid $148 million to attend, makes it clear that President Trump is auctioning off access to the White House and allowing the highest bidder to write its own rules. This bill being considered today will only further President Trump's corruption and expose our financial stability, national security, and consumer protections to greater risk.
Niggas hating, fam.
They mad as fuck.
By using
Trump
crypto
running up a bag and they mad as hell.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you for yielding back. We didn't want to hear you anyway.
Today we welcome the
Don't say
testimony
nothing else
of the
today.
Honorable Elad Weissman, who is a partner at Cravath and a former SEC commissioner. Mr. Vivek Raman, who is the founder of Ethereal Eyes. The Honorable Russ Benham, who's a distinguished fellow at the Pissarro Center for Financial Markets at Georgetown and a former CFTC chairman. Ms. Catherine Menerick, the Chief Legal Officer at Uniswap Labs, and the Honorable Tim Messick, Research Fellow, Director of Digital Assets Policy and Project at the Center of Business and Government at Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and a former chair of the CFTC. We thank you for taking time to be here. You'll be recognized for 5 minutes to give an oral presentation of your testimony. Without objection, your written statement will be made part of the record. Mr. Weissman, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Hill, Ranking Member Waters, and members of the committee. Thank you for inviting me to testify today. My name is Elad Weissman. I'm a partner at the law firm of Cravath, Swaine & Moore. Today, I'm presenting my own views and not those of my firm or any clients of the firm. Let me begin by saying that the Clarity Act is important.
Thank you.
It reflects thoughtful work by
Positivity.
members and staff. It is a significant step forward to providing the needed clarity to the digital status of many tokens, market participants, the digital asset system, and decentralized finance more broadly under the securities and commodities laws. My testimony and my views are informed by nearly 20 years of experience in both the public and private sectors working on securities, regulatory, and compliance matters affecting public and private companies and other securities market participants. In my practice, among other things, I advise market participants in the traditional financial markets and in DeFi, which includes the digital asset ecosystems. Prior to joining Cravath, I had the distinct honor and privilege of serving as a commissioner and acting chairman of the SEC. I previously served as chief counsel for the Senate Banking Committee, as a counsel to then SEC Commissioner Daniel Gallagher, as a chief counsel at NYSE Euronext, and as a corporate lawyer in New York. I believe that digital assets, blockchain, and DeFi are some of the most interesting and exciting developments in financial innovation. Unfortunately, both
I ain't seen the
Congress
comments over here.
and federal regulators
I'm
have
sorry.
not
YouTube.
kept pace with innovation. And as a result, there is significant uncertainty regarding the status and regulation of digital assets. Particular concern for market participants is the scope of the SEC's remit, authority, and jurisdiction over digital assets. Although the SEC has made attempts to provide regulatory clarity, most notably in recent months, it's primarily known for enforcement actions. For many in the digital asset industry, the SEC's focus on enforcement without first providing clear guidance has been viewed as regulation by enforcement. But as SEC Chairman Atkins recently remarked, it is a new day at the SEC, explaining that policymaking will no longer result from ad hoc enforcement actions, and that instead, the Commission will utilize its existing rulemaking, interpretive, and exemptive authorities to set fit-for-purpose standards for market participants. I applaud Chairman Atkins for this approach. In addition to the recent efforts of the SEC and the CFTC, congressional action is needed. The legislation's name sets forth what it's trying to provide, namely clarity. The bill will do so by providing statutory definitions to key concepts and terms, as well as delineating what's in the remit of the SEC, what's in the remit of the CFTC. Again, I applaud Congress's attention to these matters. Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Rupdon, you're welcome, recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Hill, Ranking Member Waters, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Vivek Raman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Etherealize. We founded Etherealize to transform U.S. capital markets for the 21st century. Our team is a powerhouse of Wall Street veterans combined with the best technologists across the Ethereum ecosystem. We are ready to push forward new financial innovation in the U.S. Previously, I traded credit on Wall Street at Morgan Stanley, UBS, Deutsche Bank, and Nomura. During my time there, I saw two things. One, that the U.S. is the undisputed leader in the global financial system. And two, much of this system still operates like it's in the Stone Age. Today, it can take days to send money and weeks to finalize trades. Hundreds of billions of dollars of value still flow through paper, faxes, and manual spreadsheets. Now, at last, technology solution for a one-time upgrade to the U.S. capital markets is sitting right in front of us. Public
Thank you.
blockchains allow for programmable dollars that settle in seconds, for global ledgers that allow real-time regulatory oversight, for global access that extends opportunities far beyond Wall Street. So what's the problem? Over the last several years, blockchain innovation in the US was unfairly penalized. That greatly undersold the potential of blockchains and pushed innovation offshore. The Clarity Act can change that trajectory. It gives much needed regulatory certainty, including defining investment contract assets and clarifying SEC and CFTC jurisdiction. It provides America a launch pad for the next generation of financial infrastructure and ensures that the payoff stays here with US jobs, US tax revenue, and US technological leadership. The private sector already sees this. BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Fidelity, Deutsche Bank, UBS, and many more are already building on Ethereum because it is the most secure and most decentralized settlement layer in the world. As a result, $140 billion of stablecoins, $10 billion real useful tokenized assets, and institutional grade financial applications live on Ethereum. All of this happened despite regulatory uncertainty. With the Clarity Act, we can 100x that innovation.
They all know this already though.
Excellent framework for responsible digital.
They just have to have the old people mad at Trump.
Does
They just
so
want everybody
well
mad because Trump making
core
money. So
value
that's the narrative.
centralization.
Trump is making money. Y'all should be mad.
Means a network.
Trump's a billionaire. He's always gonna make money. You
owned
stupid
by none
motherfuckers.
and is accessible by all.
Yeah.
For Ethereum,
It don't matter.
over a
Before
million
no crypto, the nigga was a billionaire already.
verifying transactions,
Facts.
and ensuring trust without a single point of failure. What does decentralization mean in institutional terms? It means resilience, maximum security, and minimized counterparty risk. We applaud the Clarity Act for valuing decentralization in its control.
Yeah, they did cap on Ethereum, Daniel. That was big.
Clarity Act also amplifies America's position as the home for innovation. Previous years of regulatory uncertainty and hostility have not been great for America's position in the digital asset space. In 2017, 42% of core blockchain developers were US-based. By 2025, we're barely at 19%. We need to reverse this brain drain and bring high-value engineering jobs back to the US. We need to keep dollar-denominated stablecoins rather than digital euros or digital yuan at the center of global commerce. The Clarity Act benefits more than just financial institutions. It also allows for value to flow directly to consumers rather than just to intermediaries. Let's take a concrete example. Payroll. Right now, payroll is inefficient. Employees are paid biweekly or monthly. Companies have to wire funds to a payroll provider, and there are multiple intermediaries. Settlement can take multiple days. This changes with blockchains. Ethereum enables real-time automated
Not Ethereum. Stop lying. Stop.
payments, and gig workers can now get paid
lying,
5%
bro.
as they work. No delays, no middlemen. This gives people immediate access to their earnings, which is powerful for those living paycheck to paycheck.
It's not Ethereum
Multiply this
though.
effect across millions of U.S. businesses, and the impact is
Okay,
enormous.
I halfway like him now.
Power of
It's 50-50.
decentralized programmable finance.
You fucking lying, bro.
I'd like to emphasize that I could not have started Etherealize until this year.
Well, he
Because
pumping
I
his
was
company.
regulatory
He worked for them jokers,
He
so he got to
gotta
pump them.
be.
My
He
parents
must
gave
be
me
No.
on
a
payroll, bro.
opportunity.
No, he said he's a CEO of Etherealize,
By embracing
which
the
is
next
pretty much Ethereum.
Fuck this nigga then, dog.
The Clarity Act recognizes this moment in time.
Fucking lying.
For your time and for your commitment to thoughtful, forward-looking policy.
Z-Back over here paying niggas about a minute. This
Thank you
nigga
very much. Chairman Benham, you're now recognized for 5 minutes for your oral remarks.
Chairman Hill, Ranking Member Waters, member of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. Between 2017 and 2025, I had the privilege of serving first as a commissioner and the chairman of the CFTC.
My boy, the one and
During
only
that more than
police
7-year period, I observed the significant
they're not gonna tell us
growth
the
and
truth
growing
because
adoption of digital
everything else
assets
is cheap.
by
Yeah,
U.S. investors.
it's too cheap. They don't want everybody to know. They want y'all buying high ass Ethereum.
While I served at the
They can get
CFTC,
Z-Back right now for
the
under a
asset
penny.
market endured multiple periods of dramatic volatility, often significant in size and scale. Throughout this time, I publicly stated one consistent message to Congress. Under current U.S. law, there is a gap in regulation for the non-security digital asset market. In 2022, a Financial Stability Oversight Council report highlighted this exact gap. The gap remains today and must be filled with targeted legislation. The gap has facilitated countless scandals and fraudulent activity,
ISO out loud.
some very
Yeah, you
small
right,
and
Dan.
typical
You
in
right, Dan.
form, others massive in profile. Further, based on my current observations and those while at the CFTC, I do not believe public interest for digital assets will wane. Inaction will only result in greater risk to our financial markets and investors.
Who the fuck
As
is
the
this
digital
nigga?
asset market continues to weave
He from the
itself
CFTC.
into traditional financial institutions, concerns regarding market resiliency and even financial stability will grow. One common refrain in connection with past legislative efforts to fill the non-security gap suggests that a U.S. regulatory framework will legitimize the digital asset market, leaving opportunities for bad actors to capitalize on regulatory loopholes. I believe this argument is in fact the loophole. It has only left for far too long the vast majority of the digital asset market unregulated and American investors vulnerable. Between pursuing comprehensive regulation that does not undermine existing law and preserves the key pillars of sound market regulation, or inaction, I believe there is only one choice: comprehensive regulation. I've consistently and publicly called for new legislative authority for the CFTC in order to provide core customer protections in the non-security digital asset market.
Somebody from the CFTC.
This committee and the House Committee on Agriculture consider a legislative solution. I believe it's critical to rely on durable legal precedent to define digital tokens as either securities or commodities. As mentioned, the CFTC and SEC have a long-standing partnership that facilitates strong, robust regulation of both securities and commodity derivatives markets. I hope there will be continued consideration of measures to more precisely balance the important needs of each agency to comprehensively regulate their respective markets while finding ways to avoid unnecessary redundancies.
Hey, can y'all like the live for us? Can y'all like the live so we get more people in here? This what everybody need to be talking about so everybody can get paid. Everybody struggling.
That would
Can y'all
ensure
like the
U.S.
live?
market regulators have the necessary tools. The CFTC and SEC have been involved in the digital asset market for over a decade.
They giving y'all all this extra time. They're live.
Historic enforcement cases.
Y'all gonna be
Also working
sick when that
closely
bull
with
run
other
starts.
state and federal authorities.
Everybody asking you for some money. You should have shared
CFTC's
a lot.
principles-based oversight model has served
Facts.
well, striking an appropriate balance.
Niggas
between
ain't know.
outcomes-based
That's all niggas gonna say.
requirements
I ain't
and
know.
measured flexibility to meet those outcomes,
I ain't know.
serving as a solid foundation to build transparent and resilient markets. Second, the law and regulations are only as strong as the agency and personnel that enforce it. Appropriate funding, which includes technology and human capital, is necessary to meet the mandate of any legislatively enacted regulatory program. Third, a sensible disclosure regime is needed for non-security tokens to ensure investors are aware of risk of loss. Fourth, a reliable self-regulatory organization has been critical to the success of both the CFTC and SEC for decades and should be a component of any framework. Fifth, it's essential that legislation provide comprehensive authority for anti-money laundering, know your customer, and a customer identification program built off of existing requirements for market participants. Finally, a comprehensive education and outreach program to support all investors, including the most vulnerable among us. We need to act thoughtfully but with urgency to fill this regulatory gap. I thank the chairman, ranking member, and members of the committee for your focus in this area and look forward to answering your questions.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Menerick, you're recognized for 5 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Hill, Ranking Member Waters, and members of the committee. It is an honor to be here today with you. I'm Catherine Menerick, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm the Chief Legal Officer at Uniswap Labs. Uniswap Labs has always been an American company, and we want to stay in America for the long term. Many of us in the industry are grateful for the bipartisan and detailed work put in by this committee and your staff members on the proposed Clarity Act. This draft is grounded in several important principles already, including recognizing that different crypto technologies present different risks and different benefits, which means they require different legal treatment, and also prioritizing the experience of everyday users of this new technology. These principles are not ideological. Just like crypto itself is not ideological, it is a neutral technology that anyone can use. Uniswap Labs is a pioneer of decentralized finance, or DeFi.
DeFi.
It's just one part of the broader crypto landscape. I believe that one of the
She from Uniswap.
benefits of crypto technology is that it can be a check on the deficiencies of the traditional finance system today. And the promise of DeFi in particular is a future where users have more choice and more access to the financial system as a whole, where users do not have to give up custody or control of their own assets to a third party when they don't want to. This would open the door
Maxine over there mad as hell.
to many Americans underserved by traditional.
Even though she got a big bag of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP,
This is exactly what drew me
and her wallet.
others to this industry.
Multiple.
But America is at risk of falling behind. Every other major economy from the EU to the UK to Singapore has already taken steps to provide regulatory standards in the digital asset industry. But here at home, regulation by enforcement and the tactics of the last few years have created so much more uncertainty, not less. It has driven up costs and driven good actors and cutting-edge innovation overseas.
Cutting edge
Actors
innovation.
cannot succeed when the law is a moving target. So I believe that time is of the essence for market structure legislation. If you believe in the promise of crypto technology, then I think you should want legislation like this so the most important innovation has space to grow responsibly here in America. But even if you are deeply skeptical of crypto, I truly believe that you should want legislation like this too. This bill may not answer every question. I still have questions, but it does more to protect the public than the status quo. It does more to make space for good actors in the industry. And this is a bill that we can build on for the better, for the long term. The proposed BRCA and FTPA are both companions that fit right alongside the Clarity Act. America as a country has always been a believer in the possibility of transformational change and not assuming the worst of those who forge those new paths. As Justice Douglas cautioned in dissent in California Bankers Association v. Schultz, the 1974 Supreme Court case that narrowly upheld the constitutionality of the original Bank Secrecy Act, it is, quote, sheer nonsense to craft laws because we, quote, assume that every citizen is a crook, an assumption I cannot make. I urge Congress to legislate based on facts, not assumptions about our industry as a whole. Uniswap Labs is committed to supporting legislation that enables the best innovation, responsible innovation in America, that protects everyday users and protects good faith developers. If there are more conversations to be had with any of you or your staff about our vision or our technology, please ask and we will show up anytime. Thank you for the invitation and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. Massett, Chairman Massett, formerly of the CFTC, recognized for
That was
5
well
minutes.
said. Good job.
Mayor Hill, Ranking Member Waters, members of the committee and staff, thank you for inviting me today. The views I express are my own and do not represent the views of the Kennedy School of Government. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate all the work that you've done and others have done on the Clarity Act. But with all due respect, you need to go back to the drawing. The key objective of market structure legislation should be to provide regulatory oversight for digital assets that are not securities. We all know there's no federal regulator for that spot market. We all know there's been a high degree of fraud, manipulation, lack of investor protection, rampant speculation as a result. That gap arises because we have a fragmented regulatory system. We have 2 market regulators, neither of whom has full jurisdiction over that spot market. The industry has taken advantage of this by arguing most digital assets are not securities and therefore can be issued and traded without regulation. But that's also put pressure on the Howey test because the choice facing courts is either securities regulation or no regulation. So the solution has to bring the SEC and the CFTC together, give them sufficient authority to address the gap, and that will also get us to clarity. So, Mr. Chairman, in addition to your 6 principles for legislation, I suggest 2 above all. Do no harm and keep it simple. Do no harm means don't undermine our existing securities and derivatives laws, and keep it simple means just that. Now, 2 years ago, former SEC Chair Jay Clayton, who was appointed by President Trump, and I proposed a way of doing so. We said Congress should mandate that the SEC and the CFTC should work together through a self-regulatory organization or otherwise to develop joint rules that would apply to every intermediary that trades or handles Bitcoin or ETH. We use those 2 just to establish jurisdiction over the market without, as we said, debating classification of each token or Congress pursuing tortured rewriting of existing definitions of securities and commodities. We added that, quote, rewriting existing law might fail to bring clarity and inadvertently undermine decades of regulation and jurisprudence as they apply to traditional securities and commodities markets. Now, the Clarity Act seems to start with the technology and ask, how can we make it easier to invest? But that's not the same as seeking to make sure our regulatory goals are met with rules that are technologically neutral. This is, after all, a technology. It's not an asset class. So I don't think the Act provides necessary investor protection, nor the clarity that we seek, and it certainly doesn't satisfy the do no harm or keep it simple principles. Let me give a couple of examples. The Act provides an exemption for capital raising transactions for blockchain systems that is too broad to begin with and can easily be exploited. It has an expansive exemption for decentralized finance trading protocols, which will permit all sorts of activities, including potentially transactions, digital versions of securities, to be exempt from the securities laws. Other provisions rely on concepts of decentralization that are difficult to measure. It uses metrics for control that are weaker than existing securities law standards. It calls for assessments of value relative to a blockchain that are highly subjective. And although the Act gives the CFTC authority over the trading of digital commodities, that definition would appear to cover only a small handful of what is traded in the crypto market today. The rest of the market would appear to be unregulated. Finally, the Act doesn't do enough to address illicit finance. You know, it's 236 pages, extremely complicated provisions, it will provide endless opportunities for regulatory arbitrage. Lawyers will structure transactions to achieve lesser compliance burdens. I was a corporate lawyer for 25 years at one of the best firms in the world. I know how this works. And you should have no doubt this will come massively and immediately. Finally, I know many of you don't want to discuss this, but President Trump's efforts to personally profit from crypto cannot be ignored. He is making billions of dollars selling meme coins and stable coins, investing in crypto exchanges and wallets and Bitcoin mining, all of which are potentially the subject of legislation. If any member of this committee did any of those things, you would all be outraged. And so it should be no different with the president. The process creates a cloud over, or his activities create a cloud over this process. The issues we're debating here are about technology and money. They're not about life and death. But when it comes to whether something should be done about these conflicts and who should do it, seems to me the following question is pertinent. If not you, then who? And if not now, then when? Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Okay, what I like what he did was he used.
Thank you very much. Appreciate our panel's participation.
Made it backfire on her like this is more of a reason why we actually need legislation.
For the past 4 years,
Y'all wanna
digital
stop
assets.
from profiting. Then make some fucking rules, ho. Give us some legislation. That's what he's saying. So that just fired on her dumb ass. So now she looks stupid. Talking about we don't need to do this. Okay, well he gonna keep profiting from it because there's no rules, stupid.
Let me turn to member questions. I recognize myself for 5 minutes. For the past 4 years, digital asset markets have operated in regulatory limbo. It's critical that we finally enact digital asset legislation to provide a framework by which firms can operate in and protect consumers by establishing broad guardrails. I have to say this was made quite clear in President Biden's executive order on the regulatory gaps that have been referenced by our panelists today, both on spot market for Bitcoin, for a dollar-backed stablecoin, and certainly for clarity for what's a security and what's a commodity for purposes of CFTC and SEC rulemaking and oversight. But if we don't have legislation, at the end of the day, rules can be undone by subsequent administrations and guidance can be rescinded with the stroke of a pen, which is why we're working so diligently on a bipartisan basis to craft legislation for both that dollar-backed payment stablecoin and market structure. So, Mr. Weissman, let me start with you. If Congress were to only enact stablecoin legislation in this session, would we be leaving the door open for more regulation by enforcement for the digital asset ecosystem just a few years down the road?
Thank you for the question. I think it's imperative that Congress provide clarity in this space. It's not enough to sort of work on just stables. The market structure is sort of a critical component because it touches upon every facet of it, whether you're a market intermediary, a consumer, or an issuer. These are the questions that everyone's asking. Am I scoped in or out? And what the Clarity Act, is a significant step forward to. It gives insight to people about whether they're going to be scoped into the securities laws or the commodities laws. And as Mr. Raman spoke previously, this gives him comfort in continuing to keep America at the forefront of innovation.
Thank you. It's been determined mostly by litigation over the last few years that several digital assets such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin are considered commodities today. So Chairman Benham, compared to the CFTC's current authorities over the spot market for these assets, how would the Clarity Act strengthen the CFTC's ability to regulate those markets and protect investors?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. A core component of the CFTC's regulations, which are driven from core principles, is around registration of every entity within the trade cycle, right? This could be the intermediary that provides access to a customer, custodian that holds the asset, the exchange, and then ultimately a clearinghouse and settlement agency. And the Act does take measures to provide a framework, a regulatory framework for digital commodity exchanges, brokers, custodians, and everyone else involved in that value chain to both register with the CFTC And within that context, and by proxy, registration with any regulator, SEC or CFTC, creates a pretty significant volume of requirements, both on who the individuals that are involved with that entity, capital requirements, surveillance, oversight, trade data that has to be submitted, and then in many respects, random investigations and collection of data. So I do think it takes very important steps of providing clarity and transparency to these entities that are otherwise, and specifically with respect to the 2 tokens or 3 tokens named, not registered or not within the regulatory
Thank you.
lens.
And I would reiterate that the legislation also reasserts all the anti-fraud and anti-manipulation protections by both regulatory agencies over anything in their purview. So I think that needs to be restated as well. Asset classification has also been a long central challenge in digital asset markets and has fueled a jurisdictional debate that we're talking about between the CFTC and the SEC. And Congress has been working hard to bring clarity to this space since 2018. The Clarity Act addresses this issues by establishing clear, positive definitions of what is a deposit, a digital commodity. And while some digital assets as tokenized stock or clearly securities, many other remain in gray areas, which is again why I believe this law brings more clarity than perhaps my friend Tim thinks. Mr. Roisman, can you explain how the Clarity Act reduces uncertainty by clearly defining digital commodities and outlining regulatory jurisdiction? Quickly.
Quickly, it defines a digital commodity as a digital asset that's intrinsically linked to a blockchain system and its value is based on its use. That is scoped out of the securities laws, so people understand that they're going to be under the purview of
Thank you.
CFTC.
Appreciate the panel's engagement. Let me turn to the ranking member for her questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to address this to Mr. Watson. First of all, I think the jurisdictional issue could be settled at some point. It's been talked about for a long time. But I don't know how we get past the corruption that has been created by this president to do any so-called clarity. The clarity.
Girl, shut your.
whether or
She's
not the
stupid as
president
fuck.
of the
She's
United
stupid,
States
bro.
and his family are going to own and control crypto. President Trump has had several foreign.
No, she don't understand. Oh my God.
She's saying, basically saying, I don't know what, like, bringing clarity is not going to help this. So yeah, he's going to keep doing it, stupid.
Abu Dhabi backed investment firm would make a $2 billion investment.
Oh my God, yo.
USDI in the crypto exchange Binance. This decision alone.
I hate they put a sister as the face of this shit, yo.
To make her look dumb, because Maxine, you're not stupid. You really like, bitch.
Liberty Financial signed a letter of intent.
Crazy, fam. Crazy. This shit is crazy.
She's disgusting, bro. She's fucking embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be a black woman because of this bitch. I'm just playing. I'm not, but for real, she's making this hard.
Across Pakistan.
Dumb asshole.
Shortly after Pakistan and India agreed with ceasefire,
They playing the game though.
Daniel said, "Shout out to Daniel for the super chat."
I understand.
Shout out to Daniel.
It's hilarious. XRP is the only coin that's sued, yet they don't mention ETH. Got a free pass. Exactly.
You agree? And what are the risks to our national security in that case?
Thank you, Congresswoman. It's a great question, and I agree with you on the risks. You know, when I was the chair of the CFTC, I couldn't even buy Bitcoin, and we didn't have the authority over the spot market. So here we are.
Hey, you definitely have Bitcoin. Stop lying.
It's clearly a taint on the industry. It clearly, I think, makes people think that, gee, is this crypto a game that's just rigged, and those who have influence, those who have connections win? And in terms of the national security concern, yes, we cannot tell now to what extent is the president doing something because it's in America's best interest or because it's helping promote personal enrichment.
Why are politicians acting like they don't get into politics for their best interest? All of y'all do it. Trump is there for his best interest. Maxine, you're sitting in that chair for your best interest. Nigga, you're sitting there for your best interest. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
We have this market structure bill before us. that we're talking about.
Uh,
Is there anything in the market structure bill that would absolutely prohibit the president of the United States, the cabinet members, members of Congress, etc., from owning and controlling crypto?
What
don't see
about
anything
what?
insider trading, bitch?
Obviously,
What are we talking about?
why
What
She
about
don't even know. She
insider
don't even know what
trading?
she's talking about.
Right.
She don't
What
even know
are
what
you
she's talking about.
talking about? Also,
Well,
is that gonna
I
stop
wouldn't be
y'all from
against
trading stocks?
owning
Because now we gotta add that in
assets
too.
in a limited amount.
Hold up.
Talking
Hold up.
about
Hold up. So she's saying that they
what?
can't, like, people, the president and people in the cabinet can't even own crypto.
They don't
Is
want,
that?
okay, so stop buying stocks, bitch. Stop buying stocks. You, Elizabeth, Nancy, and her husband, and all her kids, all y'all stop buying stocks. Stop.
That's crazy. She's
That's
talking crazy.
crazy. That's fucking crazy. But y'all can y'all been doing insider trading since before I was fucking born. That's no problem. But because
Yeah.
Trump, bro, get the fuck out of here, bro. Get this bitch out of here, bro. Where Diddy at with the pneumonia needle? At this point, bitch. She gotta go, gang.
I think that
She
helps
gotta
to
go.
understand the market. I think it was unfortunate that we actually couldn't. But to invest in these activities and invest in businesses, especially at the level that the president is doing, is clearly a conflict and clearly a problem.
Well, you know, we have laws against, for example, insider trading.
No, you don't.
Worse.
You don't follow him, bitch.
How is it we could be concerned about members of Congress, etc., having insider information?
Oh, snap.
Trading.
Hold up.
Not be concerned about.
Where's Nancy?
I agree. And
Pull Nancy's portfolio. Let's
I've
pull
seen
it.
that with the meme coins. The meme coins were released. Some people seem to know that was coming and they bought at a low price and then the price shot up and then it fell back.
Yeah.
I think you have to address this. I don't see how we can say that we're, promoting innovation and this is going to transform the financial system unless we do that.
What are we opening up by allowing foreign countries to be in the relationship that I just described with the president?
Perhaps the greatest spokesman for this industry is Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum. And he described the
They gonna push the fuck
as
out of
the
Ethereum
perfect
today. Okay, so this is an Ethereum.
unlimited bribery.
Okay, this is
Because
Ethereum marketing scheme.
Someone can buy the meme coins, which benefits the president personally,
Oh my
yet they can
God.
claim that they were just speculating on the asset.
Gentlewoman, time has expired.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from
very
Michigan, the vice chair of the
Shut your
full
ass
committee,
up.
Mr. Isaac, 4 or 5.
Thanks, Chairman Hill. And I got to tell you before I get to my questions, I want to say a couple of things. One, I've been proudly involved in this issue for a decade, having been former chair of the Capital Markets Subcommittee, having been involved in oversight and investigations. This is the future, and we better get our act together. And I'm also proud to be a co-sponsor of both Fit 21, the first version, and now the Clarity Act. And I want to thank Chair Hill and Chair Stile for their work on that. I do want to address one accusation that was sort of thrown out earlier, that this bill will increase the amount of investor harm. Quite honestly, those claiming that that this bill is going to lead to greater investor harm are not well versed in its details. The bill establishes a robust suite of requirements, including issuer disclosure requirements, because transparency is the best form of investor protection, in my opinion. Lockup periods for insiders where they're not allowed to sell, and then limited in their ability to sell to protect those retail investors. Clear standards for custody and segregation of customer funds, and listing standards for digital commodity platforms. And Ms. Minarek,
This is bullish as fuck for Ethereum,
does not offer
Ethereum about to pump like shit.
the protections and
they're trying to start altcoin season.
as you had said, crypto should be nonpartisan. You said legislate based on facts. That is clearly not what is happening here. This is about personalities and politics, and we cannot keep the status quo. And in fact, I was struck by, I think it was Mr. Rahman, right? Your statistic about in 2017, 42% of the innovators were housed here in the United States. And that's dwindled down, I think you said, to 19% now. People in tech
We're losing business.
are going to continue to move offshore. Is that not correct? So let the record show vigorous head nodding happening over here. Mr. Roisman, you said that legislators and regulators have not kept pace. Wholeheartedly agree. I've seen it firsthand. This leads me to Mr. Benham.
What I really want to say right quick is they can play this game for the theatrics. Regardless, this is what anybody that's not understanding what's going on. Because if y'all think that because they in here talking like this, that this is going to stop crypto and it's going to stop digital assets and blockchain from flourishing, that's why they're afraid of it. Because the other countries will go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, they're going hard.
We're no longer in a position of power. It is a level playing field now. This is why I told them to share the live out. Okay, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Africa, South Africa, all them, Russia, they all can use blockchain. That's the beauty of it. If I wanted to send $100 to somebody in Africa right now, I could send them $100 worth of Ethereum or $100 worth of Bitcoin right now, and they would get it instantly. I don't need America to do that. I could have done that in a whole. I could have been in fucking Australia sending somebody some money in Africa. I don't need to be here for. So what I'm saying is they don't need America to do this. That's why he's talking about all these companies that have left America to go be successful, because no one's waiting for us anymore. So Maxine can sit in here and she can stifle innovation like the wicked witch she is, and they'll put us behind. We're already behind. So that's one thing about it. We're already behind. Our children are stupid because most of them can't read. Sorry to say it, but most of our children can't read. We're out of shape and fat because we have chemicals and all this bullshit in our food. So that factors into it, because that also makes you lazy and dumb. So that brings us down even some more. So we're going to stop innovation and speeding up our financial system because y'all worried about Donald Trump, who's already a billionaire, that was already rich before crypto and blockchain. Y'all worried about him fattening his $1 billion pockets? That's what we're concerned about? So we're going to stifle innovation because we're worried about that? That's what's happening here. This is why I'm saying, when y'all go vote, stop voting for motherfuckers because they're black. Stop voting for people like that, bro. Stop voting for Nancy because y'all used to seeing Nancy Pelosi. Stop voting for Elizabeth Warren because y'all used to seeing Elizabeth Warren because it's a familiar name. Stop. These people are slowing everything the fuck down. They're so scared because the banks are in shambles right now. But y'all, they have a plan. This is theatrics. This is theater. They're going to get this passed. They're going to get this done because they don't have a fucking choice, because the world is moving on regardless. They're going to get it done. But they just have to do the theatrics. This is all bullshit. Even Maxine in there acting. Maxine over there sitting with a bag of Ethereum, like D said earlier, XRP, Bitcoin. She probably been holding Bitcoin since 2010.
For sure.
So they all in here is for theater, but they have to put it out to the public like this is bad, so that y'all don't get in, so that y'all won't buy it. Because it's like, if y'all see them bickering and arguing and they can't come to a conclusion and it's leaving a lot of question marks in the air, people tend to be like, oh, okay, this is probably not worth investing into, because they can't even come to common ground at a hearing.
And they know her face, so they're gonna be like, well, she's gonna keep my best interest, because they don't know no better. It's a shame just across the board. Damn, yo.
Because y'all really shouldn't respect that, because people like our mothers and grandmothers, they respect Maxine. They listen to Maxine. And Maxine is misleading your mother and grandmother right now. She's leading them to depend on government and Social Security until they croak. That's what she's doing. She's leading. That's how I'm looking at it. That's why I don't like her. That's why I call her a wicked witch and a bitch and all that, because that's what she is. She's a wicked. Well, you have to be a witch on some demonic shit to do the shit that she's doing right now, because you're misleading not just the boomers, but you're misleading a whole race of people right now that need this come up, that need this opportunity. That's the whole point of this. And even it's not even just black people. She's misleading all the boomers. I don't care what your race is. The shit is terrible. The shit's embarrassing, and I hate. And that's like D said earlier. I hate that they're using a black woman to mislead y'all. That shit is terrible, bro.
Yeah,
that shit's terrible. But yeah, you can hit play. You can hit play because he talking his shit.
You were the chair of the CFTC under the Biden administration, yet you were in conflict with the
Yes, we're
Biden
talking about crypto.
administration's
I ain't
Securities
talking
and
about
Exchange
politics.
Commission
This is political. I don't talk about politics.
chair.
Trying to get paid.
And it seems interesting how I describe
About
this as,
politics.
legislators and regulators love to declare things fish or fowl, right? Black or white, commodity or security. Well, it turns out this is a bit of a platypus, as I describe it, if we're trying to figure out the fish and fowl. And in fact, I think in the Ethereum case, Mr. Benham, you had said it was a commodity. The chair of the SEC had declared it a security. Interestingly enough, when he was chair of the CFTC, everything was a commodity in his view, and then it shifted magically somehow into being a security. So I guess maybe it is about your perspective and with what's going on. We'll stick with you, Mr. Benham. There's currently 2 registered
We ain't worried
types
about
of
Mr.
derivatives
Mr.
exchanges,
Political Smoke,
including the
and I'm not bringing
designated
them up either.
contract markets and the swap execution
We're talking about
facilities.
crypto.
Could you describe the purpose and similarities between these 2 regulatory regimes and how the Clarity Act extends these ideas to create a registration pathway for trading platforms that list and trade digital commodities, please?
Thanks, Congressman. Like I said to the chairman in response to his question, the Clarity Act uses really.
Where
the
my mods at on TikTok?
Exchange
I know
Act
pressing at work. I ain't got no more mods over here.
to register a digital commodity exchange or any other intermediary within that trade cycle, as I said earlier. So this would require registration. This would require books and records, surveillance, information about the individuals that are running the company.
And how does that protect market participants?
Well, I think the challenge I face, and this is repeated, you said it yourself, is the status quo does not give the CFTC any authority over current exchanges.
Which is why we need to do this, correct?
Hey, Sid, can you please block Mr. Political and give me the
I
fuck
believe
out my life?
this is the something.
You know I can't stand a
this is a
stupid
great piece of work that has been put together
Please and thank you.
between the Ag Committee and the Financial Services Committee. So I've got a lot more, and I'll follow up with some writing. But maybe Mr. Roy-Smith, quickly, if you could discuss what it means for blockchain to be mature and explain why these features have become an end goal.
I think there needs to be sort of an end state for people to feel like they're sufficiently mature enough or decentralized, and I think that's a critical thing that
Time has expired.
Appreciate it.
Please answer that question in writing. Now, my pleasure to call on the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, the ranking member of our Capital Markets Subcommittee, for final.
There's no limit to how extreme nonsense can gain credibility in Washington. If you put billions of dollars behind lobbying, billions behind public relations, and hundreds of millions behind campaign contributions. Once again, we see an illustration of this where Mr.
Devil
Rahman
Dogs, you can
tells
get him
us
on up out of here too. Cause
crypto's
he
the
another
answer
dumb.
to
I was keeping him too. I was trying to get him
we
break.
need payroll
Get
services.
Devil Dogs out of here too. We don't have hold on,
you need payroll services because you have to calculate the deductions.
Devil Dogs. We don't have time for stupidity. Time is of the essence. We don't have time. I'm not bickering about politics. We're trying to get crypto legislation passed, and there's certain people that is holding that back. If that's too hard for you to understand, then you can get the fuck out the live. I don't want to hear that shit. Because it's stupid, because we don't have time to be talking about that. I'm not going back and forth over this. We need people to get into digital assets. We need people to understand what's going on with the financial system. I'm not here to talk about all that other dumb shit that y'all in them comments talking about. You can go the fuck away. The fuck? I'm not finna sit here and argue with y'all. Don't got time for that shit. Oh, she blocked them. All right, you can hit play. Sick of that dumb shit. People just want to argue, and it be me.
With Social Security and income tax, nobody on the internet's going to do that for free. And the current payment system is just fine if you're if you don't have those deductions. But of course, many of those behind crypto want to destroy the Social Security system by making it impossible to collect the tax on it. The other bit of, I guess, nonsense, Ms. Marnick Minerick tells us that there's nothing ideological about this. Wrong. Crypto is the embodiment of the most pernicious ideology I'm aware of. I call it patriotic anarchism. It says that America should be powerful and the U.S. government, federal government, should be destroyed. And the way to do that is to make it impossible to enforce our sanctions laws or bankruptcy laws, our tax laws. That's the ideology behind this. Mr. Masada,
Kinda.
haven't
Yeah,
had
I'm just
a chance to read all 236 pages of the bill.
Democrats and Republicans are
Have you
both
had a
corrupt.
chance to
Am I
review
wrong?
the bill? And is there anything in this bill
Mm-mm.
that says no bailouts for crypto, never, ever, no matter what? Is there a provision like that in the bill?
I have not seen one, Congressman.
I've tried to find one. You know why it's not there? Because they want the bailouts. And the bailouts will be there unless you prohibited them, because we've seen various presidents. In 2008, they take laws that are only supposed to, they declare an emergency and there's giant bailouts. Provisions of law exist dealing with tariffs. They're being stretched. So we have an audacious Fed and certainly
Okay,
an
both parties
audacious
do that.
executive
What are we-
branch ready to do that.
You just said, oh wait, that was
Point out
Obama.
that this is the
was Obama
perfect
with the big bailout.
mechanism for bribery. I'll point out
Oh, was.
that it has already been used as the perfect mechanism when the president is in violation of the law
God.
for the benefit of the owners of TikTok. Its Chinese owners have put $300 million into his Trump coin. So it's not just perfect in theory, it's perfect in practice. Not only is it a perfect way to pay the bribe, it's a perfect way to get a president to violate the law.
The
I should
theatrics is crazy, bro.
point out that okay, is there any provision of the bill, Mr. Saad, that says
How old is he?
that U.S. tax dollars cannot?
Sherman. Mr. Sherman.
No, I'm not aware
How
of
old
this.
is he? Mr. Sherman.
So we could take all the income tax collected in the month of June and put it into Trump coin or Mongoose coin,
Well,
or Skippy Toilet coin.
I'm not
Bitch,
an
it's
authority.
more than just meme coins. This why I don't like them, bro. This shit
There
is
would need to
theater,
be,
gang.
well, I would think
This
there would
shit
need
is
to be
theater,
authority.
gang. They
Well,
dance
if our
around
country
all
has
the
authority
RWA assets and AI.
buy
They
yen,
dance around it.
gold,
Let's talk about
and
meme coins.
pounds. And if this is a currency,
Wow.
the
That's intentional. They
advocates
don't
of
want to talk
having
about real world assets.
tax dollars invested in crypto have never claimed that they have just gone to the executive branch. So
Get
it's
this
pretty
nigga
clear
right
that
here,
U.S.
Oscar.
law
He needs
allows the executive branch to do this, and in fact, they own over $20 billion worth of crypto, but that was money that was seized, not taxpayer dollars yet. I would. So we have a bill here that opens the door
Brad Sherman is
Yeah.
70 years old.
and to
I keep telling y'all,
purchases of crypto.
55 need to
And
be
there's
the
no
age
restriction
limit.
to be Ethereum or
5,
Bitcoin. It could be Trump coin, Mongoose
5,
coin, it's gonna be
5.
Trump
If you
coin.
over 55,
So,
you should not be in Congress. And
I
55
look forward to
might be
working
too old.
with my colleagues to improve the bill, and I'll yield back.
The gentleman yields
Yeah, you
back.
should
The
yield
gentleman's
back.
follow-up
Don't
from
talk
Mr.
no more.
Lucas, who's also the chair of the Task Force on Monetary Policy, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to start by following up with Mr. Benham on a few topics we discussed the last time you were before the House Agriculture Committee. You said during our last conversation that one of the benefits of cross-agency collaboration, like the Clarity Act, aims to promote is the market participants are able to utilize portfolio margining and other netting mechanisms to manage their balance sheets if they have exposure to products that have similar risk. Can you expand on your testimony? Why is it important for CFTC and SEC collaborate even as we maintain right lines of each agency's authority and clearly define judicial boundaries, jurisdictional boundaries?
Thanks, Congressman. As I said before, and you and I have had this discussion, 2 different market regulators, a lot of assets in different buckets of jurisdiction, but a lot of participants that invest and get exposure in both markets. And with that exposure, you can have net gains, net losses, and I think it's important to have those margining benefits, which would require both agencies to work together to create a rule set that, as a regulatory community, whether it's a capital requirement or a margin requirement, to reduce some of the cost of investing if the net portfolio is either neutral or does not have as much exposure in one area as another. And this, I think, is a product of long collaboration between the 2 agencies. I think it enables market participants to recognize what their balance sheet costs are And ultimately, it's a way to synergize the two agencies despite having two different market jurisdictions.
Continuing with you, Mr. Benham, on a related topic, the last time we spoke, you said that capital restraints were one of the biggest barriers to entry for participation in the Treasury market. As chairman of the task force on Treasury markets, I'm particularly focused on ensuring that our debt is attractive to market makers. Would you say, in the spirit of your last answer, that allowing netting mechanisms for assets like Treasury cash, futures, and repos would reduce those capital disincentives?
Short answer is yes, but I would emphasize, and I said this to you as well, Congressman, capital is a cornerstone of market regulation. Capital requirements were a cornerstone after the financial crisis. It's important that regulators have that capacity to charge and assess capital, but if done in an efficient way, it can create more flow of capital to markets, which I think ultimately improves liquidity, shortens spreads, and creates a better ecosystem for treasury markets in the case of the question you asked.
Mr. Rossman, would you like to comment on that topic also?
I would just agree with Mr. Benham. I think first, capital is a cornerstone, but two, there's clearly room for improvement.
Okay. I just came from the Agriculture Committee where we discussed the need for laws and regulations to keep pace with the technology advancements we're seeing in the industry. And that is true for both ag and energy, but it's also true for financial services. In my remaining time, Mr. Royston, how would you characterize the importance of getting this framework done and done well?
I think this is an important topic for Congress to step in. I think the fact that we have 5 people here, 3 of them have served in government dealing with these issues shows that there is a lack of clarity. The fact that there are multiple cases which lawyers spend countless hours looking at footnotes to understand whether something is security or not show that there needs clarity. The fact that there are split decisions in each agency about these things show that Congress needs to help. And so I think this framework is really important because it'll give clarity to the regulators, enable them to work together to set the framework and allow this ecosystem to fully mature.
You must got some big bags because he pushing
I
it.
don't
I
know
like
her,
him. His
so I
calm
don't
ass.
know her.
He's
But
so
I do know
damn
one
calm.
thing. It's going to surprise a lot of people and it'll continue to grow. If you look at sort of the history, no one was talking about this in earnest 10 years ago. And today it's spurring new companies, new innovations every day. So the sooner I think that Congress steps in and gives bright lines, that gives them clarity and certainty for them to continue to innovate, to keep America at the forefront.
Thank you. Who that is? I like his calmness. What he
The
smoke?
gentleman yields back.
I know what weed that is.
Mr. Meeks.
What he on?
What he on? I need it. They be
Thank you,
pissing me the
Madam
fuck off.
I have to return back to some of the questions that Ranking Member Ward asked. Because I'm also reminded that I believe it was 2016 or so.
This better not be another house nigga, D. It better not.
Senator was called the President of the United States before he was the President of Con Man. And so that made me to rethink. And then I saw Donald Trump Jr. appear on CNBC's Squawk Box yesterday, discuss his family's involvement in crypto ventures. And then I thought about, being a New Yorker, what I knew what took place before with the Trump family and how they ran their business, because what they would do is they would borrow money, go in debt, as they're doing in this nation, and then file bankruptcy.
Okay.
I guess that's maybe that was good business. Okay. But then he filed bankruptcy, not once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, 6, 7 times. He was always able then to figure out, the average person wouldn't have been able to do anything, but the banks always gave them money again.
Yeah.
Some kind of way they changed and the banks got money. Then, as Donald Trump Jr.
That sounds like the current system is
got
corrupt.
involved in politics.
That's the current system, right?
And when you got involved in politics at that time, what
Fam.
did
Fam.
They took me off live. They took me off live on TikTok.
They did?
Yep.
Damn. So at the same time, like what he's saying is that he went bankrupt. He didn't go bankrupt. It's his businesses, yo.
What? Sexual exploitation and gender-based violence, harassment and bullying. What? What? They had to take me down, bro. Sorry, okay, we still rocking on YouTube, but goddamn
Yeah.
TikTok. That's why niggas don't fuck with TikTok. That's why we over here. All right, go ahead. What you say? What this nigga? Who this
Extra
nigga?
scrutiny.
No, but what I'm saying is he was pointing out how Donald Trump went bankrupt. I'm like, yo, it was his businesses though that went bankrupt. He's
Yeah.
he's still a billionaire.
Still a billionaire. So he got all these bankrupt businesses, which what you just did was expose the current system and its corruption. Because how is he able to bankrupt all these companies and y'all still lended him money to create more companies to bankrupt them? So to me, you just exposed the corruption of the current system we use. Dumbass.
Wow.
What are we talking about? You can hit play because this is another house nigga. This is the one that would have told Massa we was finna escape tonight. That's the one right there that we're gonna have to beat his ass on the field. That's the motherfucker right there. We have to come in the house
You
and
can
beat
do
his
some
ass.
unscrupulous things generally when you're not into policy, but once you get in there and the media's every watch it, then it meant they had scrutiny. And then he said that, before they never had a problem getting money from major banks in New York, but because of the scrutiny that they were now under because they were in politics, the banks stopped taking their calls. In other words, they were debanked. And he went on to say that this experience gave him a new perspective, one that supposedly mirrored the plight. Now he's trying to be a regular guy because the regular guy couldn't have done what they've been doing all along. But now he's a regular guy, shut out of the financial system. And what's their solution? Bingo, crypto. So let's be clear. What Donald Trump Jr. was saying was that traditional financial institutions deemed the Trump family now too risky to do business with. Not because they were underprivileged, but because of a long history of questionable financial practices, litigation, and ethical red flags. And those red flags are back up again. And so instead of reassessing the Trump family, instead of reassessing their behavior, they sought a workaround, a loosely regulated, speculative market where they could once again profit.
You say house, I say nigga, house, nigga,
Of the lack of oversight, but because of the lack of oversight.
Appeal approved.
And
I know it was.
what he failed to mention was, while painting himself as a victim of the very system he once benefited from, is that the Trump family has used this pivot to run what amounts to be a classic pump and dump scheme, where their meme project
Why
wasn't
they ain't
about
dump it yet, man? Why
democratizing
they ain't
finance.
dumping when it went
It
to
was about
$70 then, D?
exploiting hype.
What happened?
He said
Retail
it's a pump and
investment.
dump scheme. I'm asking why they ain't dump it when it went to $70. It's a pump and dump.
Right. Crazy thing about it, some of them did. That's the joke. That's the joke. Some of them did because they knew about it because they all in the same. Listen, they're all in the same house, yo. They're all in the same house. It's just that it's crazy that they're using these black folks to steer us away from
They said they would use a black face to do it. They did. I did hear that. They would use a black face to lead us in the wrong direction. That's what MLK was for. He figured it out too late. They led us to a burning building. He figured it out too late.
Yeah, please. This is why you got to do your due diligence, fam. Right? We show this to give y'all the transparency of what's going on in real time, but damn, this is why you got to do your due diligence all the time.
Every single time.
This and enriching themselves under the guise of populism. So, Mr. Massad, let's Clarity Act, let's be clear. Does the Clarity Act currently include provisions that would address or prevent political figures, like members of Congress, or their families, president and his family, from exploiting digital asset markets for personal gain?
Yes, we're not talking about the technology and the important part of this. We're worried about Trump. Are y'all serious?
Would limit the substantial
investment
from foreign entities
already wealthy.
that the Trump's crypto ventures have enjoyed thus far.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. And well, if not, how difficult would it be to incorporate these safeguards into the Clarity Act. Is that very difficult? Would that be difficult to do?
No, I don't think it would be.
So now I'm just puzzled.
Notice he
because
talking
I'm
to his
looking at my
master. He
colleagues
talking
on
to
the other
master when he
side.
asks a question. He
If
ain't talking to the other. He ain't
person
talking
or
to
the
the calm
family
white
was doing
dude.
that was
He
called
talking to master.
Obama or the Biden family, would they appreciate or just allow this type of behavior to include? I'm not going to, answer that question. We know what that
Steven
answer
from
is.
Django.
All of America knows what that answer is. They would be standing up here going crazy. And I ain't probably because, frankly, I'm frustrated. The president has put us in a position where his actions are so egregious that we have no other choice but to focus on him today.
Nigga
And
behind
this
him
is a
laughing.
distraction. I wish I could be just talking about the bill responsibly so that we can try to make sure that we can push this.
He look like he got on that old
The
grandpa
president
cologne
doesn't
that
allow
stink.
us to do that.
That stink ass cologne. The one the one you don't like, the
Gentleman's
old
time
man
has
be wearing.
expired. The gentleman
Yeah.
from Indiana, Mr.
He look like he
Stetson,
wear
is now
that.
recognized for 5 minutes.
I forgot the name
Thank
of
you,
it,
Mr.
but he
Chairman.
look like his
And
cologne
just
stink.
thank the committee and the panel for your work on this particular issue. Digital assets, cryptocurrency, and this entire space is
That's what I'm saying,
very
Mike.
complicated and
Nancy
hard to
can
understand all the
call the
time.
can
So,
call the plays
for
and make
myself,
convenience, but
even though I've been talking
it's a
about this
problem with
issue
Trump.
for quite some time, it's still
Crazy.
always something that I'm learning, and I appreciate this committee's work to pass legislation that promotes innovation, but also ensures that consumers are protected. So it's really a remarkable time for us here in Congress to be working on the digital assets guidelines, and we're really at the forefront of this discussion. Even though this has been going on for quite some time, and President Trump, of course, is willing to help lead this discussion. Several of my colleagues have been working on this for a while, and it's important. One of the concerns that have been addressed in the Clarity Act is the differences in traditional capital raising efforts. And Mr. Roisman, I'd like to come to you with a question. So this legislation addresses ongoing disclosure and transaction obligations to address distinct risk associated with a project before it reaches maturity. In the Clarity Act, there is a maturity test for the blockchain network. Mr. Roisman, can you describe the role and purpose of this maturity test and explain, in your view, why it is important to have such a construct in this legislation?
So the maturity test, I think, is a critical component to allow both issuers have a project that may want to take advantage of the exemption you sort of described earlier, and give guidance to the regulators of at what point is the end state for them actually succeeding. I think the key part of this is there needs to be a conscious or a delineate.
Somebody said smell like Frederick Douglass.
People to understand when their obligations cease. And I think unique in that it's not, I think, static. I think you can have the regulators as if they're required to provide sort of their own rules on it, contemplate the future.
Cecil say he got the body wash and the cologne.
Projects. To your earlier point, I think the executive should also directly regulate Securities Act. I think is a thoughtful way to enable projects to get access to capital and ordinary investors to participate with, I think, important customer protections. And as you mentioned, things that purchasers will need to be provided.
I need what he smoked. I swear to God, this nigga's calm as fuck.
Information on the economics.
Yeah, because it's like we about to be rich. I'm just playing my role.
There's going to be
Yeah.
requirements on insiders, limitations. So I think this is a thoughtful way for Congress to try to address this issue.
Follow up on that. This
He's a lawyer. He's a
legislation
lawyer,
also
too.
imposes higher standards on related persons
What
and
is
affiliates
it? Motherfuckers smell
to a
like
digital
Frederick
asset
Douglass.
project as it relates to secondary market trading. Could you describe why these higher standards and also explain what their purpose is?
So
I'm
my
sorry,
reading
dude. That Frederick
don't want
Douglass
standards
shit
to
got me
have
ticked.
ability to
Who said this? Who said that Frederick Douglass? That Frederick Douglass. Who said this?
rolling out a lot of these requirements.
Oh, Javaris.
Regulate
Oh man,
to iterate on these.
Yo, Ash, that further confirms what we got to do. That further confirms
requirements in existing securities law at all?
A lot of them do, yes.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Brown, would you like to comment on any of those remarks? I've got about a minute left here.
Oh snap!
How thoughtful and detailed this legislation is. Blockchains are not blockchains are technology, and blockchains like Ethereum are the next internet. So innovation is going to happen on them. There's more fraud, and I think there has to be a standard for different kinds of blockchains. Maturity test is an excellent way to distinguish that. Maturity goes back to decentralization. This whole ecosystem is meant to upgrade the financial system and make it safer, more transparent, more auditable, more able to regulate, and that's what institutions like
all right, thank you both. I yield back. Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Let me start off by agreeing with Ranking Member Waters.
This nigga sound like he ain't took a bath.
This is a framework that we are being
Another one.
Another one.
It won't bring order to the crypto.
You smell like the
but it will open the
after
door
he preached.
for
The road smell what he done.
regulatory arbitrage. Now let's be clear. This bill doesn't provide clarity. It creates confusion. It doesn't close loopholes. It codifies them. The way it divides
this nigga is definitely 82. What's his name?
Yeah, the CFTC.
This nigga 82.
SEC invites crypto firms to pick a favored regulator. As
if you don't know how to work your iPhone, you should not be talking about crypto.
Nah.
If
you hold your iPhone like this,
this is not theoretical.
And you look like this when you on there, and you done held the screen down for too long and shit. And you got to go like this before you die. When you die on the number, you should not be talking about crypto.
The very standards that our public markets have upheld for decades. So, Mr. Chairman Bassad, I really respect you, and the nation respects you.
Oh, he got a diaper on.
We work together.
Yeah, fam.
This nigga got a whole nurse at the crib. This nigga got a diaper on. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh my God,
yo.
Whose grandfather is this? Great grandfather. He definitely a great grandfather.
Yeah, we got to get these niggas up out of here, yo.
He got to be a great.
Listen,
Thank you for the question, Congressman. I agree with you.
Fam, these guys gotta go. We need a new regime. They gotta go, fam.
It's gotta go, gang.
These together. And look, you know, I'm
Nobody come to see you, Otis.
He probably had about 4 wives and all of them passed away.
Some of those pertain to customizing rules, such as rules pertaining to custody, clearance and settlement, and so forth. To make them technologically neutral. It's disappointing that the SEC didn't do that.
Oh my God.
Some of them go to
Somebody said, "Got Jim Crow in the building."
and we need to work together on that. Maybe general principles from Congress. So Congress needs to mandate that
Yo, y'all are crazy, fam. Y'all are crazy.
But we need to do that in a way that makes the message clear. We don't want to undermine the existing securities and derivatives market framework.
This is your friend that is.
That this bill will place firms at the risk of non-compliance or enforcement, depending on how the asset is later.
Y'all are wild, fam.
Well, I think that the danger is, again, as you put it, is it going to create confusion? I think it caused a lot of lawyers to spend thousands of hours figuring out, you know, how they can structure transactions to get the minimal compliance burden.
My nigga probably don't even got Apple Pay set up on his phone, and y'all talking to him about
transactions. Talked about how safe harbor like that. or something
Talking
similar
to people who don't
can
have Apple Pay,
be
Google
used by
Pay,
people who aren't.
PayPal, wallet,
So that's
nothing.
the risk.
Set up
Yeah.
on their
And
phone.
given that the
These
CFTC
niggas
has
still swipe their
been
card. You gotta
formally
tell them they can use to
reauthorized
tap it, fam.
since
Why are we talking to
2005,
these people?
the lack of dedicated funding for
Crazy.
crypto mandate is very
Oh
concerning.
my
Crazy,
God.
fam.
Keeping
I'm-
these dynamics in mind, what are the real world consequences that we face
See,
in
it
our
look like he still balance a checkbook.
and risk from limited funding? Excellent question, Congressman, and you know well from our past discussions how critical this is. The CFTC is an agency with huge responsibilities, but a very small budget. And we're talking about potentially giving it jurisdiction over these very large crypto markets, very complicated markets, at the same time that it has the responsibility
Oh, you good? You good?
which are of systemic importance are safe. You know, is it going to be able to continue to do all
She had to
those
walk out. She had to walk out.
give it adequate resources? I am very, very concerned about that. I know former Chair Benham is as well. Thank you very much. And I am as well.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Texas, the chair of the Small Business Committee, Mr. Williams, is
Say you
recognized.
still go to the gas station for money orders. Damn.
Currently, the rules around digital assets are confusing.
Yeah. Damn, Daniel.
Regulators took a heavy-handed approach trying to regulate the enforcement rather than clear rules. Under existing law, developers, investors, and businesses don't know which agency is in charge or which rules apply, and that has caused some real
Y'all are foul, fam.
projects have left the U.S. entirely, and many consumers have been using risky platforms without basic protections. So, Mr. Ruman, can you explain how having a clear, stable rules would benefit consumers and give the businesses of all sizes a fair chance to grow and succeed in this market?
Thanks for the question, and absolutely.
Please explain that.
Where responsible use cases and innovation is already happening on blockchain rails. We're already seeing remittances and payments on a global scale that are making things faster and cheaper, more transparent. The problem has been is the institutional players and retail players and small businesses that want to follow the rules of the road and have a clear way to build a business and use this technology have not had that clarity. And that's what a bill like this will.
We're made
That's
to look
why
like fools until these people
everyone
get with
wants
the
to-
program,
everyone wants to
and we can all move on with these assets. Exactly.
spur innovation.
Paige said if your font set the billboard, you should be talking about crypto.
If we come back to the payroll point, the payroll on a blockchain is meant to not pay taxes or not.
Yo, y'all are
meant to make it more transparent and easier and faster and allow for more commerce. So we're standing ready. I think there's a huge wave of innovation that will happen upon clear rules of the road. Where there's
Mr. Benham, in your testimony, you know that the regulatory gap for non-security digital assets has left American consumers exposed to fraud, market manipulation, conflicts of interest, all risks that traditional financial markets are well equipped to prevent through existing regulatory
No,
framework.
that's not true.
Legislation.
That's not true. The market is every market is manipulated.
Functional market culture structure, data disclosure, CFTC oversight of digital commodity spot markets. So, Mr. Benham, can you
Man, these people are so hypocritical, fam.
legislation directly and enhances consumer protections by curbing fraud, improving transparency, and bringing in unregulated platforms under the rule of law?
Thanks, Congressman. As I've said before, the status quo is we have a pretty significant gap in regulation. And I know SEC certainly has authority over security tokens. And I think those things are being figured out now to the extent there is authority with the agency. But as it relates to commodity tokens or non-security tokens, the CFTC doesn't have any authority. So we are living in a regulatory vacuum where conduct is happening and regulators are not overseeing it. The Clarity Act intends to bring a lot of the core principles, which I've mentioned a few times before, into the digital asset market space. So these core principles of regulation around registration, surveillance, data collection, settlement, making sure products are well regulated and not susceptible to fraud or manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
These are the types of things when I was chair, we saw in our enforcement cases. And I often say, in my 4 years as chair, I think, nearly 30 to 40% of the enforcement docket we had was crypto related in some. And I cannot emphasize enough to this committee how significant a number that is when you don't have jurisdiction or authority over a market and you're expending nearly 30% roughly of your enforcement personnel and allocation towards an area that's unregulated. So I think the Clarity Act takes a lot of steps towards bringing traditional market regulation from beginning to end into the digital asset space. It uses a lot of the legacy experiences we've had around market structure. Granted, this is a new and different digital or asset that it will require different ways of thinking. It uses those core principles as the model to bring digital assets into the regulatory fold and ultimately give regulators the transparency that we need in order to protect markets and, as you said, ultimately customers.
Okay, I yield my time back. Thank you.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Lynch, who's also the ranking member on the subcommittee on digital assets, financial technology, and AI, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the ranking member. Mr. Massa, there's been a pattern that exists in our most recent major financial crises in this country. Go back to the savings and loan crisis of the 80s. We had an idea within the thrift banking system of riskier activity among those thrifts. We had a political will here in Congress and at the White House that was, I think, cooperative with that risk taking among some of our thrift institutions. Some say it was regulatory capture. Some say it was just cooperation. But at the end of the day, the American taxpayer had to bail out the banks to the tune of about $100 billion, which was a lot of money back in the 80s.
Hell yeah. God damn.
Time when I was here, 2008 financial crisis, we had speculative,
the reason why you should probably be
volatile
retired.
financial products.
Exactly.
Consolidated debt obligation. We had derivatives.
Salute Nahil, the aristocrat. Salute.
Regulatory
Peace.
scheme.
Let me see how old Stephen Lynch is.
Treasury,
He old as fuck. I know he old as fuck.
The OCC.
I like his suit today, so I ain't really gonna cook him.
As
but
a result,
I like his yellow tie.
we ended up with an even bigger bailout. $700
Yeah.
million top. I voted against it. I was here. Some members were here, but and then more recently we've had Silicon Valley Bank. That was a major problem, and
He's
it was
70 years old.
involving some of these crypto firms. Very
70.
poor risk management on the part of Silicon Bank. But at the end of the day, the FDIC had to go in there and rescue that bank, and they did a forced sale to JP Morgan Chase.
It's these guys that used to
That was a
these
big
traditional markets.
insured banking sector for these
That's why they
uninsured
wanna let it go.
deposits. And now we have crypto, which is the most volatile asset class that we've considered to date. And we've got, since Trump took office, we've got a very there's been a complete reversal of the cautionary nature of banking with respect to crypto. So the FDIC, the Fed, the OCC have all canceled their cautionary guidance on crypto.
Yeah. D Wi-Fi went out. Why y'all fucking with the lie? Huh? Why y'all fucking with the lie? Why y'all like fucking with us, bro? Hold on, y'all. I like when they tell on themselves. As soon as he started telling on himself, they want to fuck with the live. Let's see if D coming back in here. His Wi-Fi went out. Let me call that nigga. Preston just texted me back. Preston must be on his lunch break, y'all.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has... I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach...
D phone must have died. Let me call the other number. Hold on. There we go. That's more like it.
My phone died. My bad.
I was like, okay, I thought your Wi-Fi went out. I was like,
Nah. Nah, my phone died. My phone died.
okay, I got you.
All right.
All right.
I mean,
Oh, y'all got to give him a second. His phone had died. Let me pull it up on my phone while we wait for D. Hold on. Oh, that's from okay. So Zebek is working with Proppy? That's real news. Say word. Say word. My bad, I got distracted. Okay, I saw some Zebek shit and was like, hold on. What's it called? Financial GOP or something. Services. There we go. Okay.
Particular technology, even decentralized blockchains are a subset of that technology. There's an argument that, maybe centralized blockchains are going to be better. The second thing I would say is what kind of innovation? If we don't do a complete framework, what we've seen to date is the innovation is going to things that a lot of don't have a lot of social utility, like meme coins. Now, I'm not saying decide.
My prediction is we're going to have the mother of all crises in this country because of the involvement of crypto in banking and the standard, the stable, the traditional banking sector, and a lot of our pension funds as well. So this is why this whole scenario, this whole pattern is why I offered several amendments during the FIT 21 bill and the Stable Act bill, so-called, for a no bailout for crypto bill, just to protect the American people. So we're not on the hook when this goes bad. And none of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle supported those amendments. And that's just insurance. So that what has happened repeatedly over and over and over again won't happen this time, which is the American people have to pick up the tab. And we won't have the ability, because of the amount of debt we're piling on us, we won't have the ability to step in. So I guess what I'm asking you is tell me I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong, that my fears are unfounded.
Well, if you would listen to the technology, then maybe you understand why this is not gonna fail.
I think the way to address them is to try to
Just gotta say something.
framework that minimizes the possibility of a financial crisis. It's very hard to predict where a financial crisis will come from, but we know from the past.
Cannot rely on bankruptcy on this.
That's correct. But we know from the past that high leverage, having people invest in things they don't understand, and regulators who don't have sufficient insight and information about what's going on are three important factors. So we need to put in place a regulatory framework.
The gentleman's time is expired. The gentleman can add additional comments for the record. The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Loudermilk, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I appreciate everybody being on this panel. I'm really happy to see this engagement going because quite often I spent 30 years in the technology industry, and quite often government is so far behind.
Somebody's in a galaxy.
The industry and technology that we become suppressive of innovation. I appreciate something that Mr. Rahman said is, if I got this correct, that a good regulatory framework that is flexible enough can encourage innovation. So is that kind of what you were getting at when you said something about the Clarity Act?
Thanks for your question, and that's exactly right. I think that this is a technology, along with in this decade, we've been privileged to have two game-changing technologies. One's AI, one's blockchains, that are all mature and ready for adoption. And these are technologies that are meant to improve innovation, create jobs, the economic drivers for the next decade, and reduce counterparty.
He needs to speak up when he say that.
Caused previous financial crises by having things like transparent, open blockchains where you have minimized counterparty risk. So I think that for real institutional adoption, we've seen the tip of the iceberg of adoption, and it's been a lot, even within a regulatory, a bit of a regulatory fog. On Ethereum, you have $140 billion US dollars that are backed by treasuries that are helping be a buyer of US treasuries that are proliferated. All of this will 10x or 100x with clear rules of the road.
All right, thank you. Like I said,
we need to be encouraging innovation because innovation helps everyone. It gives access to markets and financial institutions and investments that may be otherwise kept out of certain areas of the
100x.
economy. Mr. Roisman,
You heard him.
Bitcoin is the most popular digital asset in the ecosystem. It's also one of the only digital assets that both the SEC and CFTC have agreed as is a commodity. Under our current securities law, would it be possible for exchanges and other trading systems to list Bitcoin and a security alongside each other?
I think you'd have to be both registered at the SEC or the CFTC. So cool. I think one of the things that the bill is trying to address is how can you have what I think the current chairman of the SEC has a super app, something where people can go and trade commodities and securities. And I think that's the way consumers think about it. I don't know if we really need to prevent that from happening. So I think it's a meaningful step. I also just wanted to add one point. Something that I think sometimes gets overlooked in the bill is
He was also an acting commissioner of the SEC at one point too.
Okay.
the addition of innovation to the SEC's mission. I actually think that's a very valuable addition. It will require the regulator to take that
Thank
into
you.
account when it's promulgating rules. And innovation is, as you mentioned, sort of a critical piece. It'll allow sort of regulatory adaptability when there's new developments. And if regulators have to take into account, you're going to have sort of future-proof rules, which I think will benefit everyone.
Thank you for that. Following up on my question, though, what would it mean for digital assets trading platforms if Bitcoin and other digital assets that are viewed as commodities could not be listed alongside digital assets?
I think the point I was saying earlier, it would create potentially unnecessary bifurcation.
Okay. Do traditional security exchanges want to offer non-security digital asset?
My understanding is yes.
Okay. Could the SEC allow this without action from Congress?
I think they could. It would just be pretty tortured, to be honest.
Okay. Does the proposed legislation allow alternative trading systems to offer both digital commodities like Bitcoin and securities? If so, how?
Yes, it does. There's a provision directly addressing this issue.
Okay.
And sorry, yes, and I think they'd be required to do rulemaking to effectuate it.
Okay. And last question, stable coins are critical components of the digital asset ecosystem. While this committee has separate legislation for the issuance of dollar-backed payment stable coins, the Clarity Act also contemplates that the role of stable coins in a broader digital asset market structure. How does the Clarity Act treat payment stablecoins, and why is it necessary for platforms to have the ability to trade payment stablecoins alongside digital commodities?
So I'm going to try to be brief. Permitted stablecoins are carved out of the securities laws and digital commodities. I think it's a good way to deal with the market structure, and then you have the Stable Act, which deals with it separately.
Okay, thank you. I yield back. The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Cleaver, who's also the ranking member on the Subcommittee on Housing and Insurance, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I kind of had some editorial comments and then my questions, but 2 weeks ago, I found myself on the floor during special orders in agreement with, perhaps even total agreement with Representative Chip Roy, with whom we don't have a lot in common politically. But we both saw and still see some problems that we are having as it relates to members and of Congress and members of the cabinet and the president, vice president. We believe that it is wrong for any of us to participate in getting rich by trading stocks.
What?
And in some cases, trading with
Who is this Al Sharpton cousin?
mates of the Republican and so I am strongly of the belief that corruption is the enemy of democracy. Our shipping
Pause it,
Oh my
please pause it,
God.
please pause it, please pause it.
should probably be
I have to finish.
powered by.
Pause it. So
Yo,
he just said, this is my whole thing. What my issue with the stock insider trading with stocks was because we didn't get to participate. They was loading their pockets up while we got to be out here working hard. So that was my problem. I don't have an issue with anybody getting. I don't fuck with Maxine. I don't give a fuck about them getting rich off crypto because we get to get rich too. That's always been my stance. So he just said, he came out his mouth and said, we should have the opportunity to get rich off of it. What? Are you stupid?
man.
Another house nigga.
But then
That's
he said,
three
but then
houses.
he mentioned stocks too. So it's like, it's mad hypocritical, fam. It's just
Like
extremely
you
hypocritical.
basically said, like, we shouldn't get rich off. Why the fuck would we
Like, shouldn't get rich at all. Like, at all.
Like, it's like, bro, y'all hatred for Trump is that deep that you would like, because you don't want to see him get richer, get wealthier from being in crypto, that you don't even want to get yourself wealthy. It's what you just said. That is the crazy. That is some house nigga shit. That's some house nigga shit. Now that's really, and I'm saying house nigga, I'm dead ass. That's really some house nigga shit, bro. That's some house nigga shit. That's wild as fuck. So your hatred is that deep that you will stop your own bag. That's some house nigga shit. You can hit play. That's some house.
Yeah. Damn. They really fucking with y'all psyche, yo.
That
they
is
really trying to fuck with y'all psyche, yo. Like, they really are. Damn.
Truth and ethical standards. Our nation will not be destroyed by corrupt politicians, but by those of us who know.
It's already been destroyed by corrupt politicians. What are we talking about?
If there is malfeasance at the top, it's up to Congress to make it stop. And this Congress is silent. Now, I think this is absolutely necessary what we're doing, but we need to be serious, and we don't need to be partisan. To all of you, based on testimony presented this morning, it is my understanding that the legislation under consideration.
Right, they're protecting us from wealth.
The United States unleash, quote, American innovation, which I take to include drastic increases in activity in the digital asset space, as well as possibly hundreds of or thousands of new entrants, among other benefits. Is that correct? I'll just start for moving from left to right. Is that correct?
These are the same fools that's not addressing the needs in America as far as the people getting laid off and all this other shit that's happening. These are the same people.
Listen, these are the same people. These are the same people where our moms and dads who are now boomers, who are now retired, are out here scrambling to get by. They don't have no money for them. They ain't making nothing possible for them so that they can survive without having to go get a job after they already done paid into this system. These are the same people that don't see no issue with that, but they want to pay for and nothing against anybody's sexuality, but they'll pay for your sex change, but they ain't worried about your mama and daddy over there who got to go work at Walmart to make ends meet, and they done already paid into this system all these years. I'm just saying that doesn't make any sense to me. These are the same people, but it's
this shit is crazy, man. Like, you're right. Nah, this is the same people. It's just mad hypocritical, man. Like, I'm like, this is probably some of the most asinine shit I ever heard, yo. Like, from a bunch of people in the room that literally take bags for a living from people.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Like Keita said in the comments over there on YouTube, they're protecting us from wealth. That's what they're doing. They mad as hell because a lot of people are about to get wealthy. A lot of people. I knew that's what it was. It's too many people that's gonna come up off of this. They was okay with it when it was a couple of people, which is why they should have had this done before hell. Me and you wouldn't even be here. Y'all should have had this done before we figured it out. Then that's y'all goddamn fault. Be mad at yourself. So now y'all want to come in here grumpy with your diaper on, with your diaper in the finsy, because all these other people done found out about this opportunity. If y'all would have got this done in 2018, the first time Trump told y'all to get it done, you wouldn't be here. I'm just saying, because Trump wanted to get this done. Trump didn't give a fuck about. He still don't give a fuck about us. Trump wanted this done. Trump, if it was up to Trump, this shit would have been, we would have been using XRP and Ripple's technology. We've been using Ripple's tech in 2018 when Brad
Yeah.
Garlinghouse went to the White House the first fucking time. So this is y'all fault for not getting this shit done. That y'all gave us too much time to read.
Yeah, way too much time. Y'all should have been, y'all should have did this when people was not even worried about it. Why you gonna shut the world down and then
Now made me stay in the house for 2 or 3 weeks with nothing to do, couldn't go nowhere. What the fuck you thought
Right.
people was doing?
Right. What you think? Yeah, what you think? Some people was gonna wake up, not gonna wake up at all.
That's what I'm saying. All we did was sit there and watch YouTube and get educated on stuff. Some people read books. Some people actually got to sit down and figure out their finances because they had the fucking time to do it.
Yeah. Nah, but thank you for delaying. I guess they're giving people more time by doing this bullshit right here too.
Yes.
They're giving us more time to just get a bigger bag, right?
Exactly.
Apologies. Is the question that this would spur innovation, sir? I missed the prelude.
You missed?
Yes. So then, as I just said, yes, that's correct.
Yes, I do believe the rules of the road spur innovation. Congressman, I'm going to just caution that, most of my testimony is related around customer protections and this gap in regulation. I'm going to caution against opining about innovation because, I have not worked in an area, but I would trust those sitting around me to make an opinion about that.
Yes, more good innovation as possible with better rules of the road.
Well, Congressman, I would say two things. It's great to promote innovation, but we shouldn't pick winners and losers. And
even though they all are,
it may get superseded by other technologies. We don't know. So we don't want to lock in a framework that supports one particular technology. Even decentralized blockchains are a subset of that technology. There's an argument that, maybe centralized blockchains are going to be better. The second thing I would say is what kind of innovation? If we don't do a complete framework, what we've seen to date is the innovation is going to things that a lot of them don't have a lot of social utility, like meme coins. Now, I'm not saying the government should decide what's of merit. That should be the market. But we need a framework that prevents the level of fraud, manipulation, and the lack of investor protection that we've seen to date.
Well, if I could continue along those lines, does anything
this nigga out of here, fam,
that we are discussing right now provide the necessary support and financing for the CFTC?
It's almost like
readily
I
respond to
been in this that long, so it's no point in passing it. That's what it gives. That's why I'm saying very selfish, because y'all have kids, y'all have grandkids. Some of y'all are great grandfathers because y'all that fucking old, and it's like, oh, I can't benefit from this, so I ain't trying to pay. We can just continue with this old system. It's just giving very selfish, very I don't give a fuck about the youth. I don't give a fuck about the future. That's what it's giving, and I don't like that. I really don't. That's why I'm sitting here like, y'all, we really have to do better as a nation with who we vote for. Like, this is a problem. Y'all need to just stop. Like I said, stop voting. Black people, stop voting for somebody just because they black. That don't mean they for you. Stop, and everybody else collectively stop just voting for somebody because they a familiar face because they've been in Congress for God knows how long. That's a red flag. They should have been retired. That's a red flag. Y'all actually need to look at the policies, what these people want for the communities, and what these people goals are when they run for these positions. What are they trying to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, but stifling innovation, that's a deal breaker. That's your future. Like, anybody in here under the age of 55, and if you over 60, I would say under the age of 60, this should piss you the fuck off. You should be pissed right now. This shit should really and anyway, really, if you on Social Security and on a fixed income, this should piss you off. Like, because this is an opportunity where you can take the few dollars you got left and put it in this market and really retire so you can stop being a greeter at Walmart. This should piss you the fuck off. They really are stopping you. Like, this is crazy. And this nigga sitting over here, he look like he drive an old ass Cadillac, and he's sitting here really talking like this. He don't even know what he's talking about. He in there reading off a piece of paper his intern probably wrote up for him. He don't even know what the fuck he's talking about. And you can tell.
Nah, you talking straight crazy, fam. Straight crazy. Damn.
This shit is insane, bro.
Damn.
Especially because the rest of the world moving forward regardless. That's the part I really want to stick to y'all. If y'all don't take nothing else out of this, the rest of the world is moving on with blockchain regardless. I
Yeah,
just
but
put that out there. Dubai, Russia, all them people, they don't give a fuck about them sanctions. They use
nah,
blockchain
they
to move money. They don't
they
give
not even fam. They not even using the dollar for certain shit. They're not even
no.
using the U.S. dollar for certain shit. So what makes people think they're not gonna move towards this shit? Right? We get
Yes,
a lot of shit from other countries.
exactly. And see, it said this is our get back, and they can't do nothing about it. They trying, but they know they can't. It's nothing they can do about this because it's
Yeah.
internet. This is bigger than America. That's the whole thing. Like Americans, y'all got to get out y'all little egos because we is not the biggest no more. It does not matter. Not with blockchain, and they have a way. They got to work around now, and it's faster and it's
Yeah.
cheaper. Nigga, they moving on regardless. So this is
Shit.
theatrics, though. This is interesting. This is great content.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all it is. Great content.
It is.
You
It
can
is.
just
It's
play.
Admitted market impact of this legislation, including monitoring a vast ecosystem of new technology and entrants for compliance with critical national security law.
I don't think it's enough, Congressman. There is a provision for a fee, but when we really think about the scale of these markets,
what could Congress do?
You should increase the budget authority. I mean, significantly, if you're going to give the CFTC the responsibilities to police this market on all those fronts.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Barr, who's also chair of the Subcommittee on Financial Institution, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get into the merits of the Clarity Act and our market structure legislation, I just have to first address this red herring that my Democratic colleagues continue to push, this carelessly thrown out accusation and this baseless politically motivated attack against President Trump that his
Thank you.
support somehow for a
Who been the whole
regulatory
day,
framework for digital asset market structure is somehow corrupt, that he's personally profiting from our agenda to bring clarity to the stablecoin and market structure of digital assets. This is absurd, and they know it. They know that the president's assets are in a blind trust managed by his children who are not members of the administration. They're not in the government, they're in the private sector. When they throw these things out carelessly, these attacks, these personal partisan attacks against the president, it's not just Trump derangement syndrome. It's about them opposing American leadership in crypto. It's about them opposing making the United States the world's crypto capital. It's about them so obsessed with their political hatred for the president that they're willing to sacrifice American leadership in the innovative technologies of the future. They don't like that under President Trump, Bitcoin is at an all-time high. They don't like it. They don't like that he is an innovative, successful capitalist who understands that if America is to lead, we need this agenda. They don't like that. And they don't want it to succeed. And that's why they oppose this bill. Now, fortunately, we have some bipartisan support for this bill. And it should be, because it shouldn't be about politics. It should be about what is right to bring clarity to the marketplace here.
Thank you.
My man said enough is enough. Shout out to Daniel for the super chat. He said other dude was from Missouri. They just passed not gains on crypto, on tax on crypto. So he's putting on a show. Okay. So this is all theatrics.
But this nigga here is cooking. Thank you.
Yeah. He said enough is enough, fam. Cut the
Cooking.
bullshit. Let's stop. Let's stop bullshitting and acting like we're not in this shit.
And friction reducing disintermediation through DeFi. That's what we should be focused on. And so let me just move on to the merits of the bill. So highly regulated institutions like banks have an important role to play in the digital asset market, providing scale for wider market adoption and bringing their risk management and financial resilience to bear as the market evolves. But under the U.S. capital framework, banks are not able to recognize risk-reducing benefits of positions that naturally offset each other. This drives up the cost of hedging and risk management and creates a competitive disadvantage for U.S. banks. Mr. Benham, do you agree that we should review our approach in U.S. capital rules to make sure we're not disincentivizing risk-reducing behavior and the use of bank intermediaries?
Yeah, Congressman, thanks for the question. I do think, and obviously it depends on the asset the underlying asset, right? If and Mr. Lucas mentioned this earlier, we're talking about Treasury cash markets and Treasury futures markets. There is a clear symmetry between those two assets, and I do think it is important for regulators to create incentives in terms of cost of capital so that you can have more participants, more liquidity in the market. A lot of that review is based on history of the volatility of the asset. So generally speaking, I support it, but caution against making sure that we're doing the right analysis from a regulatory perspective to ensure that the history dictates what the future may hold.
I think banks do bring risk management and financial resilience to bear, and they need to be allowed to participate in this evolving innovation. Mr. Roisman, question for you on custody. Whether through SAB 121 or joint statements, the previous administration effectively prevented banks from engaging in the digital asset ecosystem. And while the regulators have taken several positive steps to remedy this approach under the Trump administration, the Clarity Act, I think, is very important because there are provisions in the bill that will cement banks' ability to responsibly engage with the technology in statute. Can you outline some of these provisions and describe the practical effect that they will have?
Thank you for the question. I would say I'd have to look back at the legislation and get back to you, but I think it is important for Congress to weigh in on this because, to your point earlier, they're a critical part of any sort of infrastructure, and the rules shouldn't be set in place to prevent people participating in this.
Well, I applaud the chairman for his extraordinary leadership on this. Also, I want to thank our colleagues in the Agriculture Committee for contributing on the commodity definition piece. And I fully support this legislation to bring much needed clarity. Don't be distracted by the politics on the other side. This is important. And thank goodness we do have a president who wants to bring leadership to the United States on crypto. Thank you.
Wow. The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. Vargas, who is also the ranking member of the Task Force for Monetary Policy, is now recognized for 5 minutes. Mr. Vargas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. Holding this hearing, especially, I want to thank the witnesses here today. Thank you very much. One of my colleagues earlier said, people who think this bill doesn't protect the public don't know the details of this bill. Well, here's the bill. It is 236 pages. The big, beautiful crypto bill. I doubt that any of my colleagues read all of it. A couple of them probably did, but most of them did. It's like the big, beautiful bill that we just passed. I voted against, all the Democrats did. And all the Republicans said, I didn't know that was in it. I didn't know that was in it. I didn't know that was in it. If I had known, I voted against it. So anyway, I think the same thing is happening here, unfortunately.
What was it? Hold on. What was in it?
Can you say later on? That was a disgusting abomination.
Huh?
I missed it. What did he say was in the bill?
What did he just say? I'll go back.
Because I missed it. I'm trying to figure out what he was getting at. I didn't know it was in it. What was he talking about?
The commodity definition piece, and I fully support this legislation to bring much needed clarity. Don't be distracted by the politics on the other side. This is important, and thank goodness we do have a president who wants to bring leadership to the United States on crypto. Thank you.
Wow. Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. Vargas, who is also the ranking member of the Task Force for Monetary Policy, is now recognized for 5 minutes. Mr. Vargas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. Holding this hearing, especially, I want to thank the witnesses here today. Thank you very much. One of my colleagues earlier said, people who think this bill doesn't protect the public don't know the details of this bill. Well, here's the bill. It is 236 pages. The big, beautiful crypto bill. I doubt that any of my colleagues read all of it. A couple of them probably did, but most of them did. It's like the big, beautiful bill that we just passed. I voted against, all the Democrats did. And all the Republicans say, I didn't know that was in it. I didn't know that was in it. I didn't know that was in it. If I had known, I voted against it. So anyway, I think the same thing is happening here, unfortunately. I think someone's going to say later on, that was a disgusting abomination. Just like we saw about that big, beautiful bill. I think they're going to say the same thing about this big, beautiful crypto bill. Ms. Massad, I want to ask you, Mr. Chairman Massad, I want to ask you a personal question, if you don't mind. Where were you employed in 1990?
I was employed at Cravath Swainmore.
So was I. I was a summer intern. I was working with Max Schulman and Robert Jaffe, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Absolutely.
I don't believe you were a partner at the time, were you?
Not quite.
I think you were a senior associate.
I was.
You were very scary, and that's why I'm going to be prejudiced in this question and not ask it to you, because we're all afraid of you. You were very brilliant at the time. I'm sure you still are. But I see that there is another Cravath partner here. I actually chose not to go there. I did get an offer. I went to San Diego, my hometown, and practiced law there for a while.
We don't give a fuck.
Fine firm.
Next.
Or for little legal firms that were eaten up by bigger ones. That happens in the legal field. So I'm going to ask the rest of you. Are any of you familiar with the Legal Tender Act of 1862? You just go ahead and answer. Anybody that knows? There's a Cravath partner, for God's sakes. Come on. You ought to know that one.
I'm afraid I don't.
What's that?
I do not.
You not. Anybody else? Okay. Professor?
He about to piss me off. I can feel it.
Well, I believe that was the law that created greenbacks, that created American dollars and tried to put an end to wildcat banking notes.
I knew you would know. That's why I didn't want you to answer.
He just Googled that shit.
Right? So that was the time that we authorized the issue, Congress did, of greenbacks, really demand notes that were redeemable for gold. Prior to that, what happened to paper money?
We had individual banks essentially issuing notes. People would take those and use them to purchase, and of course, then they'd have to decide whether were those notes really worth what they paid. And there were,
and what happened after the Legal Tender Act of 1860 with the value of that paper money?
The banknotes?
Yeah.
Well, they basically then started to go out of existence.
That's right.
Took a while.
The reason I ask this is I think there's a very similar situation that could happen here very easily. What were to happen if we had a central bank digital dollar? What would happen to all this crypto money? I think that's the big question here. I think probably they'd go to zero.
Well, I guess I would say two things, Congressman. One, I don't think a lot of the crypto assets that are out there today will ever become a currency like Bitcoin. They're far too volatile in price. They're not backed by a government.
But that is what the promise of it is. In other words, when you listen to the technologists, they say exactly that's why it's going to be beneficial. It, in fact, is going to be more efficient than cash. We heard that here with payroll and everything else. They don't talk about it as an asset class. They talk about it as coin, as a value like money. And I think that's the problem. I don't think it's going to act that way. In fact, I think it's going to be just the opposite. That's why I think there's, on the other side, there's a fierce battle. So we never have a central bank digital coin, because I do think that all of these coins go to zero.
Well, there are issues with the CBDC, of course, as you know, in terms of should that really be the role of the Fed. I think you've got to distinguish stable coins from a lot of the other crypto. Stable coins that are actually pegged to the dollar.
And I only have 24 seconds left, so I do want to say this. I know there was a spirited defense of the president, but I have to tell you, this is the most obviously corrupt thing that I've ever seen. A few days before he gets inaugurated, and he comes out with this Trump meme coin. It's outrageous. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and I now recognize myself for 5 minutes.
So he's an idiot.
I want to thank Chairman Hill and Ranking Member Waters for holding the hearing today, and I want to thank our witnesses for taking time to be with us. Mr. Benham, for several years, derivatives exchanges registered with the CFTC have listed derivatives contracts on Bitcoin and Ether for trading. Do you believe that the experience from CFTC's oversight of the digital commodity derivatives market will be helpful to the CFTC in exercising jurisdiction over the spot digital market as provided under the proposed legislation?
Thanks, Congressman. Short answer is yes, and I think just quick elaboration is, and this goes across any commodity class, whether it's agriculture, energy, metals. The CFTC is tasked with obviously overseeing the markets and those specific products, but the agency must have a good understanding of the underlying commodity itself. So over the years, going back to when Chair Massad was in control and a few of the first enforcement cases were arising, the CFTC has learned a pretty sharp expertise in the space and has a pretty good understanding of the underlying market itself across different digital tokens.
Thank you. And Chair Benham, regarding Section 109 of the Clarity Act, which pertains to international cooperations, I'd like to explore the safeguards the CFTC would likely implement when entering into information sharing arrangements with foreign regulatory authorities. Specifically, what measures would the CFTC take to ensure that sharing sensitive information with foreign regulators doesn't compromise U.S. national security or the proprietary business interest of digital asset companies?
With any MOU or any engagement the agency has with a foreign regulator, it is very surgical and prescriptive in terms of who we're dealing with, who the agency is dealing with, what the existing relationship is between the CFTC and the non-U.S. agency, and ensuring that they have the appropriate system safeguards, cyber protections, data collection, hardware and software that, if not matches the CFTC's, exceeds it as well. So there is quite a bit of due diligence done, and this is not unique to crypto at all. The agency, both the CFTC and SEC, have been doing this for years, are very diligent about making sure the regulator across the ocean is doing what it needs to do to give the agency confidence that it can share information with another regulator.
Thank you. The Clarity Act requires 4 joint rulemakings between the SEC and the CFTC in order to set up efficient and functioning digital commodity markets. Importantly, these joint rulemakings clearly delineate their respective responsibilities. Opponents of this bill have criticized these joint rulemakings, citing the practical challenges for the SEC and CFTC in coordination. Chair Benham, can you highlight some of these joint rulemakings and explain why, in your view, it is essential for the CFTC and SEC to coordinate on these issues?
Thanks for the question, Congressman. The joint rulemakings are not unique to the two agencies. Obviously,
haven't they already discussed this before?
In many respects after the financial crisis.
They just keep talking
Dodd
circles,
Frank was
bro.
passed in 2010. You had jurisdictional.
They know what they're gonna do already.
Commodity swaps and security swaps. So the two agencies
God damn.
have to coordinate and draft joint rules. It's difficult. It brings two different institutions together, and you have to go through a lot of exercises that you don't necessarily go through when you draft a rule uniquely to one agency. But it's very possible, and I think what really brings the two agencies together. So within the context of crypto, the larger issues around defining the tokens, larger issues around having duly registered entities, whether an exchange or a broker dealer, these are the types of areas, or a custodian itself. These are the types of areas where the agency, I think, will need to have joint rulemaking to ensure that there's a coordination across the field, so that the participants, to the extent necessary, have a single set of rules to comply with.
And Chair Benham, can you highlight some prior joint rulemakings between CFTC and SEC and explain some of the hurdles that were encountered?
Well, as I pointed out, the financial crisis is probably the best example, and the swap dealer definition, and making sure that the two agencies are delineating which or what types of swaps are commodity swaps and what are security-based swaps. Ultimately, it was done. I would say the challenge is, again, you're dealing with 10 commissioners, not 5, 2 chairs, not 1, and you're dealing with 2 different divisions, if not more, trying to promulgate a rule off of a statute when there is sometimes scant legal precedent, sometimes there's better, and you're trying to navigate, much like this space, a previously unregulated financial asset class. So those are the types of things that I think the agency has a history with and does quite well, but it's certainly, as you pointed out, not easy.
Thank you. My time has expired. The gentleman from Connecticut, the ranking member of the Select Committee on Intel, Mr. Hines, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're spending a lot of time on this side of the aisle talking about the corruption associated with the president's activities here. And Mr. Barr's ill-advised and cheap shot that we are engaging in politics notwithstanding, we didn't bring this upon this effort. And politics, I've spent the last couple of weeks wading through 263 pages of dense text, which is about number 90 on my top 10 list of things to do. And those of us who might be inclined to support this thing so that it can be bipartisan are not going to add our names to something that is associated with the rank corruption that we see out of the White House. Now, to me, the way to deal with the Trump stuff is to make sure that this bill has literally platinum consumer protections, AML, anti-fraud, and yes, conflicts of interest language. And I will not vote yes on this thing unless it does. We have now had a demonstration from the highest office of the land about why that is important. So I just say that for my Republican colleagues. Without that, I am not a yes vote, and I'm going to encourage every Democrat to be a no vote. I think.
Damn, B. How you feel about this?
I don't have nothing to say.
How you feel about this? They really like, yo, this is what I see. I see them being like, well, we just need more time and we're gonna shake out people, as many people as possible. They just shaking out the non-believers. Maybe somebody just got into crypto recently. They're shaking them out.
I hate to say this.
What's up?
But they're gonna wait until September or October.
Then wait till the fall.
September, October, because the final ISO date is in November. They may even wait till the first week of November to get all this shit done. It's not gonna be August. Not the way they bickering back and forth.
And the fact that did you I don't know if I sent you that article, because I mean we know what they're gonna continue to say throughout this whole thing. But hold up, I did want to show you this because I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is happening later for sure. You see this right here? It says XRP ETF approval chances hit 98%, but now they talking about all the way over here.
Well, I can't. It's backwards. What does it say?
Oh, December 31st, 2025. For the XRP approval.
They're gonna wait till Q4.
They're gonna wait till Q4.
Wait till Q4. Well, and they're doing this to shake people out because they know most people are tired. People are tired, and they know. And he's an asshole. This nigga right here with the taco tail, he's an asshole. He gives me he beats women vibes, but they know if they put that in the bill, Trump not signing it. Trump's not signing it. Like, and I don't blame Trump. I wouldn't sign it either. Not we sat here and that's the thing. Trump could pull receipts. He could do whatever he wanted to expose the corruption of them doing insider trading within the stock market. So why on earth would I sign a bill to stop me and my family from being able to invest in this wealth transfer? Y'all basically just told him to not become a trillionaire.
Yeah.
Basically, sign this so that you don't become a trillionaire.
Stop in your own bag.
Like why would that be added into the bill? No president would sign that. Like, no. That's not gonna get included in the bill. Y'all can sit here and say, oh, they have stuff for insider trade. That doesn't stop them from doing it. Why is most of them up there that work in Congress that's supposed to be making anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000, maybe $250,000 a year?
Yeah.
Why are most of them up there worth over $200 million?
Yeah. Them jokers is worth mad, bro.
I'll lower it. Why are some of them up there worth more than $10 million? Look up these people's net worth. You look up this hearing, and let's go to all the people that's up there, and go look at their net worths. And please come back to me and answer that question. So why the fuck would he sign that shit? And all these people up here are multimillionaires, but y'all's salaries are only supposed to be anywhere between 150 to 200K. Now I'm not saying they don't got business and shit up out there, but where did you get the money from? Where did you get the money from to start the business? Where did you get the money from?
They deal in an industry where niggas just toss bags across the table and checks across the table all day. That's all. They're in this game. If anybody would benefit, it would be them.
See,
Because now,
pulling up the Congress in an Aston Martin.
yeah, well,
and then this guy right here, he looks silly. He looked like he probably had a trust fund. His daddy probably got him the job he got right now. This guy right here, he's a product of insider trading. How do you think your tuition got paid for, sir? Like all these, the younger ones that's up here, that's out here spewing this bullshit. I guarantee you, they products of insider trading. Their mommy and daddy was in Congress before them. It got passed down to them, and they always doing insider trading.
Yeah.
Please stop. So this is complete nonsense. This is theater. All these people deserve an Oscar. And that's really all I really have to say because this is insane. I'm encouraging the Democrats to say no.
Yeah, that's wild.
Damn, Trump must have cut off one of his little foundations from getting funding or something.
Yeah.
Why you so mad at you supposed to be a Republican? So what the fuck? But you over there, man.
Now Huel, the aristocrat, said when the true power wants it to pass, all these naysayers will be quiet. What they say now is irrelevant. For sure. But it's the thing of people will get confused and see Maxine and see a lot of these Democrats saying no.
Right.
When traditionally no really meant yes. This is what you need to be getting into.
And the thing that y'all have to understand is the highlights that they're gonna take from this is all of the bullshit. No one's watching this hearing. Even right now, if D got it up right there, I think it was like earlier 3.5. It might be 4,000 people watching this hearing right now. So all they're gonna do is take the highlights of Maxine saying Trump got $2 billion or whatever the fuck she said at the very beginning. They're gonna take the highlights. They're gonna take his highlight right there, and that's what's gonna be shown to the public.
This shit says 423 people are watching this, so it's not even that.
Down. So it ain't even in the thousands no more.
Nah. 423 people are now watching.
Okay, so it went from 3.5K to 400 people. Nobody's fucking watching this, so they're gonna take the highlights, and that's what people are gonna see. Now people are gonna believe, oh, this is some bullshit. We don't need to get involved in it. You know, it's too much arguing, it's too much back and forth. Sure. And then you got the people that hate Trump. Their hatred is just so deep. It Trump bad, man. Trump's this is corrupt because Trump is profiting off of it. And yeah, we don't want to deal with anything Trump is profiting off of. Not knowing, nigga, you can get rich too. He's already wealthy.
I'll close this shit. Yeah, exactly.
So it's unfortunate because some people ain't gonna sit here and watch this and see the bigger picture and see the whole picture. That's what we're saying. They're gonna only see the highlights, and the highlights that they're gonna show is the bullshit highlights. They ain't gonna show that man that went in that was cooking. They ain't gonna show his highlight. His highlight might not. I'm gonna be shocked if I see his. I'm gonna be happy as hell if I see his highlight on my timeline. But I guarantee you, we're not gonna see what he said.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Hold up, my bad.
That's pretty much good, bro. That's good. Because that shit is long.
Yeah.
These people go on 5 hours.
We pretty much got the basis.
Yeah, we pretty much got the basis. So we'll probably come back. If not, y'all will see us tomorrow morning. But yeah, y'all see what's going on. Y'all see the theatrics. Y'all see that these people don't want to talk about the technology. They just want to talk about Trump profiting, and that's their biggest issue. Not the technology, not how this is good for the financial system, not how much money this saves taxpayers, not how this new system is so convenient and it just benefits the world. And they don't want to talk about any of that. They want to talk about Trump. And I don't want to sit here and hear that. I'm sorry, I'm over that shit. I don't care what your political views are. I don't want to see that shit. I'm sorry. That's some old people shit that I'm not finna sit here and bicker and go back and forth about. So
yeah.
So that's
kind of stupid.
Like they're not getting anywhere with this. Q4 is probably because they're not gonna have a choice. Trump has to get this done before midterms in 2026. So this will be. They just are going to wait until the absolute last second that they have to bullshit. So that's the reality of this. Other than that, we'll see y'all a little bit later. Some news or something come out. We'll be back on. I believe Zebek trying to pump back up a little bit. I'm at that shit went to that 004 like we thought. So it looked like
Shout out to Zebek.
yeah.
We did that deep dive on Zebek. It's
But yeah,
for the members.
if you're a member in the Telegram, you got that. XDC is at 5 cents. I would catch
Oof.
that. No, not financial advice. Do your homework. XDC is on sale.
Shit on sale.
It's on cause this shit right here. Everybody see it. They like, oh, this ain't getting passed no time soon. They like us. This shit ain't getting passed no time soon. Like they may surprise us. They probably want us to think like, yeah, they ain't gonna pass this no time soon. And people selling. And that's
then
exactly
all of a sudden,
yeah.
Then all of a sudden, here we go.
So whichever way it goes, they could be doing it soon. They could be bullshitting right now and playing us, or they could really be waiting to the last minute. We'll see. No.
Yeah, they're gonna keep pushing this. They're gonna keep pushing that. Yeah, I'm just
hilarious. This was funny though. I hope y'all enjoyed. We try and make this boring stuff entertaining. That's the difference between us and these other influencers that are streaming this that are so serious. Yeah, I'm the most unserious person. That's exactly why I don't like 9 to 5s. Because I don't want to sit here and be serious all day. So hope y'all enjoy it. We ain't for everybody. If you ain't like all that, then this ain't the channel for you. But if you enjoyed it, please click the subscribe button. If you're trying to get paid, click the subscribe button. That's all we're trying to do. We just trying to
wait. I just want to address this C whoever this was. Why y'all focus on these types of P files? Listen, whatever they doing, we talking about crypto. They got to pass these laws. We're not talking about all that other shit. This is a crypto channel.
This is a crypto channel. We here to talk. We trying to get these bills passed. I don't give a damn if it was Joe Biden signing it, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi. I don't give a fuck who's signing it. We just trying to get crypto reg so we can get rich. I don't give a fuck about none of that other shit you talking about. We've been doing that P word been floating around, but I'm not sitting here. You must have just woke up last night, cause nigga, we been knew that. Yeah. I'm not at the end of the day, like
crazy.
Did you get up and go to work today? Oh, okay. Because y'all know all these people's is P words. Y'all know they included in traffic. Y'all know they doing all that shit. Yeah, Epstein came out. All this shit came out about these politicians, but y'all still get up every single day and y'all go to work and y'all pay y'all bills to these same corporations that these P words and these S traffickers are profiting off of. So you can shut the fuck up and miss me with all that. That's when I've been gave up on Americans or on Americans in the world. At this point, get your bread. Go get your bread. Go mind your goddamn business, and that's all you can do. Go take care of your kids and raise your kids to be to be lovable and good people, good genuine people. That's all we can do because the world is fucked. The moment I realized that they showed y'all aliens, they told y'all that these people were corrupt as pedophiles and they was involved in traffic, and that these the people that was taking these kids and taking them to islands and shit, and y'all still got up and went to work. Y'all still pay y'all bills. I said, fuck society. Fuck y'all. I'm finna just get paid because at this point, we ain't coming together. Y'all not overthrowing the government. Y'all not finna do none of that. You finna get up and you finna go to work. You gonna pay that bill that just came to your phone or your email and said your bill's past due. You're gonna pay it.
Still participating.
Still participating in the matrix. So as long as everybody's still participating and we ain't coming together to overthrow a couple hundred people, I'm just gonna get rich. And that's how I'm gonna end it on that. I don't give a fuck.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Fuck it at this point.
Talk about it. Please.
Y'all sat here. Donald Trump is the fucking president. Donald Trump.
And Jokers, and y'all remember 2015. Jokers didn't give Donald Trump near a chance to be nominated.
Y'all put a businessman that bankrupt damn near every business he's on, and y'all made him the fucking president, dog. Y'all let another man come in that's from Nigeria that we had all the evidence and proof back in 2008 to show y'all that this motherfucker was not American, and y'all elected him.
It don't get no more American.
Kennedy has been here. Y'all the same adults that fucking nominated George Bush Jr. He's the second dumbest president we've ever had. You think I give a fuck about anything y'all talking about? No, I'm 31 now. I had to watch all this bullshit as a kid. I realized the game, and I'm gonna play the video game to my best of my ability because that's all we're doing. We're playing the video game.
Play the game.
And we're gonna get rich.
Play the game. That's it.
Get
yours. Get yours.
Bread, take care of your family, take care of your kids, be a good person in society, be the best person that you could be, and just take care of yourself and your family. That's all you can,
Billions.
because the world is doomed. The fucking world is doomed, bro. So I'm gonna just leave y'all with that. So, because it don't matter. Like at the end of the day, get rich.
Get
That's
Get
the message.
yours.
Get yours. Get rich. Fuck, don't be mad at the system, because y'all ain't gonna do shit about it. Y'all hate the system that's coming, but y'all ain't gonna do shit about it. So I'm gonna get wealthy off of it. That's all the fuck I got to say. And we'll
There you
leave
go.
y'all with that. There you go. All right, y'all have a great one. Y'all be